All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights, but of course, you know that this show is this week's fights because we did not have UFC last week. Today, we are going to be giving you all of our predictions for the upcoming UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hernandez, talking about a whole bunch of other combat sports that myself and my co-host here watched over the last week, and of course, get it out of the way. Get this man introduced already. He is a man. He is a myth. He is a legend. Mr. Chase Parton, how are you, brother?
We are good. We missed our UFC on Saturday, unfortunately. We did not have a card. That sucks, but we did have other things to fill the void. So I would say it was a pretty successful weekend. Now that, we're kind of coming around to picking up different promotions, on the regular. When the UFC is not around, it's not go out and touch grass. No, it's find other promotions, guys. That's exactly what we did, and it was a good weekend. I'll give you that.
I mean, that just has to be the MO at all times. I mean, what is outside that is going to be any more interesting than watching fights inside here with the homies? So that's definitely what we did. And I am very excited about one of the promotions that I found. So we got a couple other ones we'll get to first, but I'm very excited. There's coming up in just a little minute. We will go over one that was brought to my attention, and I'll tell you all about it at that point. But before we get into UFC, of course, we were going to start off with some of these other ones. And the first one I think we have to start off with because it was such a topic of discussion leading up to this card was, of course, this one right here, Karate Combat 59. We saw it, people. The meme match of the century was, of course, Walter Walker versus Zion Clark. Obviously, the heel hook legend Walter Walker versus Zion Clark, the man who is missing the bottom half of his body. So, what did you think about this and the rest of the card, etc., Chase?
Well, actually, yes. I think we should start chronologically at this
Okay,
for this card because
sure,
there's one other thing that happened that is very meme worthy.
sure.
Winged C made his Karate Combat debut,
Yes, he did.
and what I have said about Karate Combat, and I was alluding to it in your chat a little bit too, is we rarely are going to see skilled competition, like opposition, I guess is what I would say. I mean, you're gonna get Winged C, who, in my opinion, I've definitely given him his credit. He's a very skilled striker. He actually has the technique to do it if he couldn't break the character that he's in. But I don't think that's gonna happen. So he's gonna be what he is. But they somehow always seem to find a South American on their debut, their pro MMA debut, pro karate debut, and they come out and lose in round one. I don't know how it happens. I don't know where they find them, but Winged C had an opponent and he literally just fell to the ground holding Winged C's arm to
Yeah.
finish him. So it was very, listen, this is why you can't bet on it other than the crypto that's worth, dirt. So
That's karate coin not holding up too well. Yes. So, if for anybody who's not aware, I mean, and maybe Chase, you probably know a little bit more than I do about it, but Winged C is essentially kind of a meme character. He came out of the Street Beefs promotion, if you can even call it a promotion, I guess. Basically backyard fighting is where this guy got his start. He's certainly a character. He's got a lot of personality. I guess some kind of mental problems at one time. Maybe they're a little bit fixed. Maybe he's still got a little bit of a screw loose. Either way, definitely a big figure. He's got a lot of he exudes personality. Like I said, he's got his own sort of aura about him. He was making his debut in Karate Combat and did get the win. And as you said, Chase, by basically his opponent locking himself in the crook of his arm and kind of going down and just kind of getting knocked out like that. You say this guy is a skilled striker. I certainly wouldn't say that it would have been my assessment. I think that he lacks a general technicality, but he is very interesting to watch, I would say.
no, no, no. Yes, that's when I say he won't break the character. Yes, he is in this character to be as flamboyant and as as chaotic and rambunctious as possible. But if you have actually done the deep cuts, like if you've seen the little highlights of him, like he does know how to throw kicks. Like, and it's not just like he does throw spin kicks. Like he can do things without like falling on his face. I mean, obviously, the first 30 seconds of this matchup would not allude to that because he ran across the pit, jumped in midair. They both collided in the air, and then he ends up falling. It was definitely Winged C definitely took flight, I'll say. But his opponent, that one moment gave me hope right there. I was like, damn, he really tried to fucking tackle him out the air. Shout out to him. But then he goes down and loses. But Winged C, yes, it is not technical in the sense because he does not play martial arts the way everybody else does. He fucking plays dance, disco. You know, he gets with the boogie bomb, and then he fucking goes in there and does his thing. You know,
Well, and I have to say, I mean, judging off of his dance moves, that's where he really shines. I mean, this guy's a pretty skilled break dancer, I would say. I certainly saw a couple moves. I was like, not bad.
yeah, no, it was definitely it was. Listen, it was fun, but that's the problem. Karate Combat, are you here to just be fun, or are you wanting to be taken serious as a mixed martial arts promotion? You know, I you could do this all you want, but then people are just going to be skeptical. Like, Wing C has never really faced a blah 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 blah. You know, whatever you're going to say, like, you can build this dude up to be whatever. But with Winged C's kind of confidence or whatever, if he finagles himself into another like skilled competition outside of this, you know, because he's already been knocked out like in the other promotion, like, so that's probably gonna happen again if they hammy up him a bunch of opponents, and then because he's young, you know, he's not gonna stay here forever. You know, he's not like Robellis where he knows there's nowhere else he can go, kind of deal. It's like Wing C, in theory, probably wants to go to the UFC. It's probably not gonna
Oh my
happen, but
God.
you
No
know,
fucking way is that gonna happen. No, well,
but
that's my
listen,
thing though. I think he's in the exact right place because you're saying, do they want to be taken seriously? I think they're okay with being taken however they're taken at this point. Like, if people are watching, because what I would say about Karate Combat, and this card is a good example of it, at least where it seems like they're going, if this is the kind of stuff they're doing, they're a mixture of both, because we'll talk about some of these other ones here too. I mean, like, you got right up next after Wing C's fight, you got our boy Roybert Echeverria, who was on The Ultimate Fighter, and he ended up getting a really nice win here. A nice TKO win for him. So you have a mix here, and of course we can talk about the grappling match at the end of this thing. But like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if they have a couple of meme-ish fights, they have a couple of more serious fighters on here, whatever. Like, I think that they're okay with that, and I think that makes it so that this is the exact right place for Wing T, because you say that like he's like Robellis, and Robellis can't go anywhere else. Wing T cannot go anywhere else, brother. The fact that he is in Karate Combat is pretty amazing to begin with.
no, I think it's very possible. I mean, obviously, his dream would probably be in the UFC, but I think it's very possible if he goes on a slick little win streak after they give him 4 debut people, PFL could be calling this guy. And that's what, and listen, and I'm not saying that in a bad thing, but it's like, if he wants the second best thing, you know, they might give him an opportunity, you know? I don't know. And that's
Well, I
only if
will.
they keep giving him people that are on their debut and they're going to look like this. That's all that I'm saying.
Big facts. No, but like I said, I am an advocate for Wing C now after seeing him perform. So take it as far as you can take it, brother. We are riding for you here at last week's fights. You go ahead, and if PFL calls, you answer that phone, and that'll be the one time that PFL will actually get a residual view out of us.
No, but I think this is a good place for him. Like I said, he could get a million wins in here if they just keep finding him opponents that'll let him do it. And obviously, they love him here. They let him dance. They let him have his mic time. You know, he can do his dance entrances. You know, his outros, whatever you want to say. He does a lot of different things, and they don't seem to care. They'll run over the time, whatever they have to be, because they're going to give 4 other people round one knockout artists. So whatever.
Well, that does touch on a good point, an overarching point, at least for this card. And what we have seen as a pattern from Karate Combat is they really are about giving decently skilled fighters just who the fuck ever. And those guys end up getting these like highlight worthy performances, which is great. And you like the highlight and you like to see it on the card, but you're like, there's probably a skill gap here that is making this so that that is the case. And were these fighters to be matched up with someone a little bit higher up, then perhaps there could have been more competition to it. But that could just be the nature of the matchmaking in the promotion as well. Like, they might not have the access, they might not have, or the desire to have guys going like they might want this outcome. So, either way, it is kind of interesting because we have a good amount of finishes on this card. Some of them really good. I enjoyed, this was overall an enjoyable card to me. I had a good time watching it, but it was definitely noticeable at times where it was like, yeah, that was supposed to happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you think, Roybert, round 1 knockout. Obviously, Wing C, we talked about round 1 knockout. Claudio Ribeiro, which I don't know who this is personally. Is this Brenson Ribeiro's? He looks just like him. Am I wrong here?
I don't know if they are related, but Claudio Ribeiro is a UFC alum himself.
Well,
So
he also got a first round knockout. Uriah Hall, also first round finish.
shout out to Uriah Hall too, by the way, with that very nice spinning kick knockout. That was really, really sharp. Plus, I forget who it was in the chat, but one of the homies in the chat when the watch along was happening is from Australia, and Jaden Enud is who Inod is who was Uriah Hall was fighting, and he in the chat had said that Jaden Inod is a bit of an asshole back home. He like knew him personally, so shout out to Uriah Hall for making that happen for the homies back home in Australia.
I definitely was in the chat for that moment. That was pretty funny. But okay, we can talk about the main event now because
Sure
it
thing.
definitely was something. And when you say main event, I mean, this is not necessarily the main event that other promotions would put on. I mean, normally people have the end of the promotion have like the biggest event of the biggest thing of the night. Now, this is not necessarily competition wise. There's no fucking rankings here. There's nothing going on here. This is no belt going on. This
Well,
is
and just to put this into context as well, how serious this was taken. Plinio Cruz was on commentary. You know, that's Alex Pereira's trainer and translator. He was on commentary. He was the special referee for this match, and he was smoking a cigar during this match. So I think that says a lot about what you need to know as far as how serious all of this was being taken. So yeah, just to piggyback off your point.
I'm actually very glad that you brought up the seriousness of this. Yes, Polinio Cruz was the special guest referee. I have never seen anybody pull this card out, but I'm actually loving it. I do love this. What I thought was funny, obviously, in the build-up, you have Walter Walker playing the character. He's playing the heel. He's going after Zion Clark, which was whatever, WWE stuff. If you guys really want to hear the sauce, Walter Walker has already taken over Josh Hockett as the fucking promo guy. So, I mean, it's not even, you guys don't even know if it's promos from him and the Johnny Walker right now. Like, that's how good they are. So, the point is, Walter Walker did the whole promo thing. I thought it was really funny when he came out and like he walked over and like he broke character. Obviously, he like gave him a handshake and bowed to him. It was really funny that like he showed respect that this was real competition. He broke character. This was real to them. I kind of respect it. So
No,
it
yeah.
was it was definitely fun. I actually really enjoyed it because obviously you have a heavyweight against a guy who potentially could have been a lightweight at one point. Not anymore. I'm not. These are just the facts. But the point is, if they would have given Zion Clark like a 125-pound guy to grapple with, it probably would have looked really fun because he was pretty fast. I was like, holy shit, this guy's a little scurrying around. Like that kind of would be a little trippy if he was grappling with you. I don't know what I would do. Like he
Yeah,
could just
well,
be all over you.
there are elements of the dynamics of this that do make it very interesting. What I had said leading up to it, and they didn't actually like give any explanation. So I think that really because of the meme nature of it, it wasn't like taken as more seriously to have like modified rules. But like what you're saying kind of does track. Zion Clark, he's not, I mean, based on the circumstances, obviously, you know what I'm talking about here, but like he's definitely, the upper body is completely built. He's seems like he can move himself pretty agilely with the circumstances that he has been dealt. Like it's an interesting kind of visual of all of this, and there probably is like more that could have been done in that capacity if it had been more legitimate. I mean, one thing that I had said was that it's like if you had a modified rule set specifically for this type of situation, it like there's a lot of kind of dynamics that make it interesting in the sense that like you can only choke him out. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have like, and for him it's a harder too. Like so many submissions come from leg locks and utilizing your legs. He doesn't have the ability to do that. Like I think that if Zion Clark wants to continue competing in combat sports and being a part of that world, like there should be some considerations made for there to be like more active competitions with him. But then again, it's like, how do you make that fair for the other guy? There's a lot that goes into it, I guess. But I give the guy credit for going out and doing his thing. He's not letting anything stop him with the circumstances that he has in his life. And I think he should be an inspiration to a lot of people for that, at least.
No, I think it's interesting because yeah, he definitely like when you listen to his post-fight speech, like post-fight speech, whatever you want to talk about, his little post-match little thing. He's a pretty cool dude. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I respect him, going in here and grappling with Walter Walker. Like he said, not everybody's gonna go ahead and do that. I tell you right now, I'm not getting in there with that dude. Like, fuck that. Like, come on. I don't want that guy on top of me reaching for my legs. Like, no way. So Zion Clark, shout out to him for going out there and having a good time. But if Zion Clark, and I know again, we're obviously talking about modifying the rules for him to be able to compete.
Right.
It's unfortunate that that's probably not going to be the case very often, or maybe likely. Maybe we can preach here because I think we can petition if you get him a smaller guy, and if there's a person that is able to like you got to lock in to like know like okay, it's a guy without legs. Like how do you train for that? You know, like whatever the case may be. If you get somebody who could actually not put on a WWE style performance like Walter Walker did, I think Zion Clark might actually fucking win. I don't know. That dude's
Well,
pretty. He's pretty quick on his fucking hands. Like I don't
I,
know. It's kind
I
of
I'm telling you the answer right here, right now. The next matchup for him, I have it, and this is Galaxy Brain. Find a competitor with no arms.
gotcha.
Dude, I'm telling you. I mean, think it really. It sounds crazy, but think about it. He's got no legs. A competitor with no arms. I mean, how much more even can the playing field get than that?
It would have to be interesting. Figure four leg lock would have to be what they would only go for. You know, I don't know.
That's how you get like how you end up finishing that match. I think is what ends up being the $1 million question. But that's for them to figure out.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get a sudden death round. You know.
Yeah, for real. Well, either way, like obviously Walter Walker won the match. That was how it was going to go. Uh, that's why I think that at the end of the day, it like with Wing C, it was a little bit more interesting because it was a little bit more of an active competition. With this Walter Walker and Zion Clark thing, it really was only going to end one way. So it's like, yeah, it was funny in the lead up, but then you actually saw what it was, and it kind of almost felt a little underwhelming in the end because it's like, what else could it have been? But
That yeah, that's actually one of the main points. Like if you're watching it, and I feel bad because I took it more serious than I should have. Like, I mean, I think I expected a little more, you know. And when I watched it, I'm like, what could have I expected? You know, like what seriously could have been, the moment where I was like, man, this is fucking awesome. You know, like I probably wasn't ever going to happen, but it was just fun to see Walter Walker out there. It's fun to see the character behind Walter Walker. He calls out his brother at the end. It's goofy, but like who even cares? He's at least doing something. People complain all the time that the UFC's fucking boring, that people don't fucking trash talk at the press conferences. Walter Walker is trash talking the dude with no legs. Just shut up and have fun. Like Jesus Christ.
yeah, at the end of the day, like that's why I'm okay with it because, and really, like if you're going to have that, that's why I actually like give Karate Combat some credit for how they're doing all of this stuff because like you have that element of things. Then you had a bunch of like pretty decent fights at times. I mean, like again, based on what we had said, sometimes it was a little bit of a mismatch, but overall, you got some active competition. You got some goofier stuff that was kind of fluffy and fun. Like you said, lighten up, just have a little fun with it. I mean, not every event needs to be like stern and staunchy and stuffy. I mean, like these can all be sort of just light and enjoy yourself kind of events for at least every once in a while. And this was fine.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
good
this was
deal.
definitely a fun event. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. Well, another event that happened, and this was one I unfortunately was not able to watch, but I know that you did. Let me share this here. This was the early one championship Friday fights. Of course, these are the morning fights. And you said you had something that you wanted to mention about this. What do you got, Chase?
Well, I guess it actually amounts to a couple things. One, this is another one card where the fights started at 6:30, but we did not get to start the stream until 7:30. I don't know what's going on with this. If you're hearing Mr. Chatri, please stop doing this. I wanted to see the American in the first bout. Seriously.
Mm,
But I mean, even if I didn't get to see him, it's okay. So we made our way through this card, and I want you to go to, I think if you go up a few to Suryan Lek. This is the main fight that I would like to talk about
sure.
first. Yes, Suryan Lek versus Mohammed Tawfiq. This was one of the most crazy judges' decisions ever, and this is the moment, I'm going to remember this guy forever. One, because he came out, it was Friday the 13th. He came out with the Jason Voorhees mask, was pretty cool. And he is one of these short and stocky fighters, but the dude he's going up against was like 10 times taller and so, lanky compared to him. But it was one of these fights where, he showed a lot of heart. I did not think he won, but he did get a knockdown in the second round. Now, this is where I was unfortunately reminded by Thai people in the chats because I'm starting to listen to the chat, watching one as well with their little live chat. Scoring Thai fights is very easy. If you get a knockdown, you win the fight. Unless they get a knockdown and tie it up, you get a knockdown, you win. So Suryan Lek lost the first round, lost all of the second round up until he gets one knockdown, lost all of the third round, but because he gets the knockdown, that is solidified. He has won the fight until he gets knocked down again. And that's what I'm being told from the chat because that's what they say is law. And I'm not saying I agree, and I'm not saying that's exactly true, but in this specific manner, I'm telling you, it was a hard fight for this guy to win. The dude was a mountain compared to him, and I'm not saying he didn't, do his thing, because he was it was just a hard task, and he got that one knockdown, and that was like, bam, he got it. But it's like
Well,
back to losing.
how was the damage on the other side though? I mean, like, did he actually get cut, or like was it like he just taking a lot of shots, or how
No,
bad was it?
dude, I mean, he was getting whooped, like,
Oh,
very
okay,
handedly,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the dude is just very Mohamed Tawfiq is just very, very good. What I think is actually crazy too, and I think this is the point, and I think this is kinda law, because when the judges was being called, I'm sitting here thinking Mohamed Tawfiq, man, he put a whooping on this guy. Granted, he got knocked down, but it was just kind of a little slip kind of deal, and he got up, but they called it a knockdown, whatever. When they went to the judges, I mean, he was already crying. He already knew he lost. So I'm thinking,
Mhm.
like, damn, that knockdown really was like that's key right there. You get a knockdown in Muay Thai, you just won the fight right there. So that,
Interesting. All
yeah.
right, fair enough. Well, yeah, so there you have it. Interesting point. I guess good to know going forward with more Muay Thai if you're watching, which again we're going to be talking about another promotion I can't wait to talk about in a minute here. But anything else on this card that you wanted to go over?
We can go to the co-main event so you can see
Yes.
Gregor Tom.
Yes, Gregor Tom.
Wow. I was actually about to make the point because when I was watching this one card, I don't know if you can still hear me because the internet is bugging out, just like it was when I was watching the one card specifically. And now it's also bugging out again. So I was supposedly told that the internet had been fucking fixed after I had lost connection to watching this one card right before Gregor Tom came on. Um, and now I can see that the connection is still fucking ass. But either way, we will let it slide.
You sound fine on my end here.
Okay, well, you are lagging very bad on mine, but that's okay. As long as you can hear me, as long as chat's still out there. We didn't even give a shout out. We're gonna get to you guys in just one moment, actually. You know what? Sorry about that. So Gregor
Sure.
Tom, great knockout. Did not get to see it live, but when I saw the replay, it was good. I loved it.
Very nice against Don King.
Yeah, Don King.
Cool. Right on. And then main event at all or no?
No, nothing really to say. I mean, it was definitely a good. I didn't catch this one live, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not go back and rewatch it. But I
True.
watched Gregor Tom, so
All
there you
right,
go.
fair enough. All right, well there you go indeed. So one championship Friday mornings, of course. Chase is live when he is able to be with the internet situation being as it is. But if you are up and available on Friday mornings, go over to youtube.com/@CP Smalls. Go hang out with Chase for those streams.
No, absolutely. And before we get into anything else, like seriously, I
Yes,
don't know how we forgot to get into the chat, guys. Can we give a big apology? Chat, you guys are
absolutely.
awesome from being here. I want to give a shout out to my boy Beeb, Jeremy Hall, Rick Allen, and John Dong, of course. Thank you guys for being here. I don't know how we missed you guys, and I apologize. Sincerely, bottom of my heart and top. Well, other sides of it as well. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for hanging with us. And of course, we are going to move on to more one here. Of course, one had fights in the morning, they had fights in the evening. This was one fight night 40, Buntan versus Hemmetsberger 2. I believe you were live and I might have been in your chat or somehow, some way I saw the first matchup between Jackie Buntan and Miss Hemmetsberger here. Forgot her first name off the top of my head, but she yeah this oh yeah actually I guess I can scroll down.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
Stella,
Stella.
excuse me. um
Stella.
yeah but so this is an interesting deal here. Any what else did you want to go over on this card before we get to that main event though?
We can go right into the main event, right as I shout out Bleeding Edge, of course. And yeah, whatever
Hey,
you'd like to talk about with this one, we can totally get into. Because
well,
Adrian Lee, sorry, I saw that
that's
one.
yeah, that was gonna be where I had to start, of course. Obviously, Adrian Lee, of the Lee family, coming in here. I guess he had been coming off of a loss. He had taken a loss recently. Bounce back victory over Shozo Isojima. Really nice performance here. Very aggressive. I was very impressed with the level of output, and then also pair that with unfortunately Isojima not having any ability to get off the ground was really the bad thing. He was fully mounted and just kind of accepted it, unfortunately.
Bro, you got to talk about this guy like he's the hot stuff off the block. Like this guy,
Sure.
Adrian Lee, at age 19,
Yeah.
what he just did to a grown man. I don't even know how old this dude is. Probably similar age, but that's not the point. Adrian Lee came in here and put on one of the the biggest ass whoopings I've ever seen. Like, what the hell? This dude was whooping ass. It's not just the level of skill that you saw. It's you got to pair it with the age. You know, like it's you can tell like the instincts are just like locked in. Like he clearly, and we talked about this. I think specifically last week when it comes to one. There's so many families that just run this fucking game over here. So I'm really excited for Adrian Lee. Yeah, this guy's fucking good.
Yeah, you ain't kidding, man. I mean, comes from good stock, good pedigree, and certainly shows in his aggression in the ring in this case. Very nice. Yeah,
And yeah, I actually wanted to talk about the next one after this too,
sure.
the Ben Tynan and then, Taguchi. This one, specifically when you watch them come out, you look at Ben and he comes out, he's got his blonde hair, he's got his mustache, he's got his fucking white trash T-shirt, he's got the whole character going. Shout out to him for actually coming out here and getting a finish because I was truly believing in the Japanese guy. When I saw him, I'm like, name another heavyweight Japanese guy other than the dude Don Fry fought that one time in that GIF, you
True.
know? And I sat here, I thought, this guy must be sumo background, like for sure. Like there's no other way around it. And I was wrong. No, he got taken down instantly, and there was no background of sumo that was going to come into play here. And he got submitted, and that was the end of it, you know.
Very
But it was
quick, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Ben Tynan, his entire crew comes out in tuxedo shirts, which was very fun. And Raigo Takeuchi here, his nickname is Rising Rockstar, and they made a point on the broadcast to mention. I don't know why they were specifically saying that about a lot of people on this card, but they were saying whether or not they liked anime. And they made a point with this guy to say he don't like anime. He's not an anime guy. He likes hip hop and he likes fighting.
I think why they would say that is because Ben Tynan, he had the tattoo of the Pokemon.
He did, yes.
And maybe that's it. I don't call it an anime. That's a cartoon to me, but I guess over there they would call that an anime. So he's probably like, this guy don't like anime. He wouldn't have no he wouldn't have no Pokemon tattoo. You
It
know.
certainly tracks. They were doing it for a couple of other people on the card too, like so. It was just kind of a reoccurring thing, but it was funny with that because the whole point of it was like, he ain't out here watching no cartoons, brother. He is locked in, and then he gets taken care of very, very quickly in this fight. So Ben Tynan out there doing the damn work. So I appreciated that. Fun fight, that one.
What I would say is I'm very critical about Karate Combat and the people that they feed them in these promotions. Adrian Lee and Ben Tynan had the easiest fucking work of their life, get 350,000 bots later, kind of deal. I think the difference is when they get to Karate Combat, they will literally tell me that they're on their debut, pro debut, Karate Combat debut. At least with Teguchi or Takeuchi, at least they probably told me he's got 100 wins somewhere. At least they're building him up like, holy shit, 107 with a 92% win rate. He's got to be good. And then he gets smoked in one round. And then you're like, okay, no, that's the good guy. Like that's the really good one. So I don't know.
Sure.
It's a
Yeah,
little
no,
different.
I get you. I get you. Well, yeah, moving on a little bit farther up here, got to talk about the co-main event, of course. Shadow versus Nico Carrillo. This was a great fight. This was really, really quality here. Shadow very skilled. I would just say that Nico is just a level above is really what it came down to me. He's got such a great ability to catch the kick and then throw the counter off of the catch. Like that was, like kind of his signature move. And he was doing it so many times in this fight. You'd think at some point that Shadow would have kind of caught onto it and been like, hey, maybe I need to adjust, but he really didn't all that much and kind of kept letting that happen. And then he ended up kind of gassing us a 5-round fight, of course. Nico ends up taking the win, getting the interim featherweight Muay Thai world championship title here, and well deserved. He looked great in this fight.
What would you have to say now about seeing Scotland go 2-0 against Thai guys in Thailand in Muay Thai, and now one's a champion or interim featherweight champion now? What would you have to say to the up and coming prospects coming out of Scotland? I mean, these guys are really killing it, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I would say is that we've talked about underrepresented regions of the world. In fact, you just did a live stream not too long ago talking about all the countries of the world and how they're represented in combat sports. It's nice to see, and it's nice to see not only in MMA because if you don't see enough representation from your country in the UFC or any other, pick a promotion, you're not seeing it, at least that it exists somewhere else, that it is there for you. And Nico, it looked fantastic. So not only do you have representation, but you have high level representation as well. So I would say if you're not seeing what you want to see out of X fighter and Joanne Wood, I guess, or whoever is left from Scotland. Our boy Chris Duncan. I mean, I think that he's probably a good one, but you know what I'm saying. If that's not enough for you, then at least you've got more in other places, and Nico is certainly a fine example of that.
Hell yeah. When you guys get bored, Nico and Gregor, you guys should definitely go to Paul Craig, learn some jujitsu, and we'll take you in the UFC here soon. Get on Contender Series real soon.
Absolutely, yeah, and over time we'll see more and more from all countries, which is great. So these are the early stages of the next wave here, and Nico getting the belt helps that move along for the entire nation of Scotland. So shout out to the Scots.
Hell yeah.
And then really, I mean, the last thing that I wanted to talk about on this one was of course the main event, Jackie Bunton versus Stella Hemmetsberger. This is their second meeting, but a second sport. And what is interesting about this is that their first meeting was in Muay Thai. Stella won that fight, close fight. I think that might have been a split decision in that fight as well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but either way, still close, regardless of what the judges said. Stella wins that one. She wins the belt because Jackie was the champ there. She fights this fight in kickboxing. Same situation. This was a split decision. So, so now Stella Hemmetsberger has now won 2 belts in 2 sports against the same person.
Yeah, so I mean, if that isn't, that's just how the story goes, unfortunately, for some people. Split decision sucks. Obviously, when you go down and you watch the fights, you'll be able to see how close it was, neck and neck. Maybe she was robbed, maybe she wasn't, but she just beat her in both sports. I mean, what can you say? There's nothing else to be done. Stella, you might as well find another opponent to fight 3 more times, whatever the case may be.
Either that or it's like Jackie Bunton makes Stella her white whale at this point, and it's just always going to be gunning for her, Jamal Hill, Alex Pereira style. Yeah, but aside from that, I mean, I think that she's done everything that she needs to do. She's a tough opponent, man. I mean, like, she deserves the accolades here. I was very impressed. The level of advancement in her offense was very impressive to me. Like, she's a pretty girl. Like, you'd think that she might be a little bit hesitant to engage. Not at all. I mean, like, she really goes after it with the striking, and that's exactly what you need to do. Jackie, on the other side, is apparently like a model. They're showing off all of these photo shoots of her on the cover of Vogue Philippines and all this kind of stuff. She's out there engaging the same way. That's obviously what you need to have as the core of your skill set when you are at this level. Stella just a little bit more hungry, I guess.
And what do you have to say for Stella being from Austria? I did not actually catch that. I thought it was Australia at first, but Austria is very interesting. Shout out Stella, of course, from Austria.
Yeah, same thing as Scotland, really. I mean, Austria, another country that, you don't really hear a ton about as far as fighting goes. So you've got a champion in her. Maybe she's going to inspire some more women from that country. That would be good. I was looking over what we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about it on the UFC card coming up here in just a little while. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us while we go through all these other combat sports to get to the UFC. But there are divisions especially for women in the UFC right now, where if you come in and have a really good skill set and get yourself a couple of wins, you are instantly in the equation. Austria, you can get yourself into the equation just like anybody else, and now you have a champion to light the guiding light, to light the flame, to ignite the passion. So follow Stella.
Not just a champion, but a 2-divisional, 2-sport champion. So
Correct. Yes, indeed. Now she just has to defend 2 belts against other people who are not named Jackie Bunton.
true. We'll see how that goes, though.
Indeed. So, yeah, just a little bit of touching on one championship from all of that. So, appreciate all of that. But now, before we get into UFC, Chase, I have to show this to you. This is something I've been wanting to talk about. You saw that Jeremy Hall was in the chat earlier, right? Shout
Yes.
out to Jeremy Hall. This guy over here, Jeremy Hall, brought something to the stream that I am eternally grateful for. On Saturday night, we did not have UFC, of course. I was looking for different things to watch. There was an event that was going to be airing. It was a smaller regional promotion. Could not find the stream. When we found the stream, it was behind a paywall, all kinds of problems. So we said, what else can we do? Jeremy Hall brought this to the equation. He brought us RWS. Have you heard of RWS?
I have not heard of RWS.
You are going to want to hear what I have to say about RWS. I do not know why this is scrolling as fast as it is. This is not me doing this, but for whatever reason, this is just giving you all you need to know in very quick succession.
Gotcha.
But RWS is Rajadamnern World Series. All right, Rajadamnern World Series. This is named after Rajadamnern Stadium. So these are fights, I believe, that generally all take place at this venue in Thailand, and it's Muay Thai. These fights were very good. That's all fine. Like that's a great aspect of it. I talk a little bit about the fights, but I have to show this to you, my friend. Look at this venue. Okay, this picture probably doesn't even do it justice. This is one of the best, and I am not exaggerating in the slightest. This is one of the best venues that I have ever seen for combat sports. It is, first of all, gorgeous. All of what you're seeing, it's hard for me to show it here. Look, if you can see my cursor on here a little bit, you see this outer rim. This is all graphics here. The one thing that I would say is that they did put a little bit too much like graphics during the fights. I would have liked them to maybe slow that down a little bit because it got a little distracting. But like the light show is beautiful. The seating is so like well designed for combat sports because you can see it's like a very steep bowl and you get a great view from almost everywhere in this building. They have projections on the ceiling. It's this whole presentation was absolutely outstanding. I'm sitting here watching this event, and again, the fights were fine. The fights were good, and you know there's plenty that you could be said about some of these fighters and all of that. It's very traditional Muay Thai, so they have all of the dancing before the fights and everything. Loved all of that, but I was just sitting here just with my jaw hanging down looking at this thing. It is so nice. So I had to bring this to the show to say, if you are up, the only problem is that this airs very early in the morning US time. This is another one of those that's like, I believe starts at like 7 a.m. or something like that. But they do it almost every week because the venue is for this promotion. So
Well,
yeah.
what I was gonna say is if you go back to the main page, yeah, you said almost every week they do this. Mate, if you look at the little scrolling banner, they have 7 days a week Muay Thai.
Oh my gosh. So there you go. I mean, if you want Muay Thai all the time, apparently,
So
this is the promotion for you. Yeah, I had to bring this to everybody to say this is where you need to be like putting your viewing time here. This is also available on DAZN, I believe, in the United States. I don't know for sure on that. You're able to find it on YouTube. You got to jump through a couple of little hoops. And again, shout out to Jeremy Hall, the GOAT, for helping all of that happen for us. But yeah, RWS is such a quality product. If I mean the fights and the visual presentation, I would put this one step below the Sphere. And I know that that's a wild comparison because it's like the Sphere is so amazing, but like think about the other events. The only other venue that I could say even impressed me in any meaningful way is the stadium in Inglewood that they did one event at that had that sort of like wraparound LED screen at the top. And like if you don't remember that, that's kind of proving my point. You know what I mean? Like it's
the
like
one in California, the
yes,
Clippers Arena?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Inglewood, California. Exactly. So I mean, like, there like that one's good. And the Sphere is amazing, obviously, and the presentation was great there. But I would slot this venue in. What I had said too, I'm not a big like world traveler. I don't have much of a desire to travel for leisure. This is one that has actually piqued my interest. Like, if at some point in my life, I might have to try to get over to Thailand and go see an event at RWS because this was just so great to look at.
You know, it's kind of funny because I only know of the Lupini Stadium, which is where One and where Muay Thai Extreme, I believe, happen on Sunday mornings. And I did not know. Well, now I should have expected, and now I'm very certain that there are more than four arenas that have just Muay Thai all day, every day. Because, like, bro, what else are they doing out there? I don't know. This is the national sport. You might as well. And if you go back to if you look at the banner one more time when it scrolls by, it'll show you highest knockout rate, 80%. Guys, you might as well fuck it. I'll come in here and watch these shits all day. I don't give a shit. Muay Thai's.
That's what I'm
I
That's what I'm
mean,
saying, man. I mean, like, like I'd have to kind of keep on top. This is one of those things that it's like I think it would be a little hard to like actually try to like be regularly keeping up
mhm.
with all of it because of how much they do. But this is now the go-to on days where like if you don't have anything going in the morning and you want to watch it live, they also do a great job of like making it accessible. The events are on YouTube. So like, I'm thinking about slotting in a lot of RWS on days where we're just looking to watch something at this point.
What I think is interesting too is if you look at the thing, this little banner one more time, there's different days that do different. So there's traditional Muay Thai,
Thing. I
then
don't know why this
yeah,
doesn't want to cooperate, but
you're fine. There's traditional Muay Thai, last what is it, last man standing Muay Thai or something? Longest standing, I can't read it, it's a little blurry, and then classic Muay Thai, so they're all different types of events, so if you wanna keep up with one specific style of Muay Thai, like, if you like one more than the other, I think, you can keep up on Thursdays, every Thursday and have an event, or every Tuesday and have an event, the days that you don't have UFC 1, or Karate Combat, or, UFC BJJ, which we will not be talking about, but,
I forgot that we watched that. Holy crap! Yeah,
yes.
that's how good that was.
Yes, but no, this is definitely something good to keep an eye on because Muay Thai is very fun. It's very lightning quick. It's kind of it is like the TikTok of combat sports. As
For
of right now.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. One thing to note again, this is traditional Muay Thai. So, in addition to the dancing, they do wear the big gloves. But that being said, I mean, we saw some good finishes on this card too, even with the big gloves. So, I have nothing but heaps of praise to be raining down on RWS. I am so glad. Again, shout out to Jeremy Hall for bringing this to the show. This was like really kind of a paradigm shifting thing for me a little bit because, like, knowing like, exactly what you said, knowing that a great promotion exists and that it exists so often. It's like this is just kind of awesome, man. Like it really was like I was in awe of what we were seeing and just the access that we now have to it. So shout out to RWS. They are now followed on Instagram by me, and I will try to integrate more RWS content into what we do on Yama.
Hell yeah.
All right. And so all of that, I mean, I can talk let me just very, very briefly, just because I do have it open here. Just wanted to shout out a couple people from the card.
Oh,
And because this is a little bit tough to keep track of the all of the fights because there are so many of them. This is their YouTube page. They put all of the fights out there in total. So if you want to just watch the individual fights, you can go after the fact and find them there. But did want to shout out Hu Yi. He was the main event, this dude Hu Yi. His opponent did get switched up, so this is kind of makes it a little bit like, would he have been as good with his original opponent? We'll never know. But like, he was the main event making on his debut. He's making his debut in the organization. I was like, we had a title fight before this, and this guy's the main event. Well, he comes in and just annihilates his opponent. So now you know why. Obviously, a good debut. So yeah, Hu Yi from China, very, very quality. Dam is the champion. I forget what division he is fighting in, but he retained his belt. I think he might have been interim and unifying it, maybe. Either way, belt goes to Dam. Very talented fighter there. Garrett Smiley is a dude out of Ireland who is very interesting to watch. Very very skilled. He did not get a finish, but definitely won the fight nicely. And I believe that that's pretty much all that I wanted to mention. Oh, and I guess I should throw a little bit of a shout out to the ladies who started the card because they were both very lovely. This was
nice.
Winia and Senengam.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
No, this
very
this
nice.
definitely sounds cool. I mean, I'm glad that they upload all the fights like this, but I would love to be able to catch some of them live. This definitely is something that piques my interest. You put me onto one, and now you've put me on to something even more interesting.
And you're an early riser, so this could be really good for you.
Every day at 7 o'clock doesn't sound too great, but Fridays is okay.
Like you say, pick a day, but
Yeah.
yeah, the only thing I will say is again, they make it a little bit difficult to find it because you would think that they would be airing the live stream on the official RWS channel. They do not do that necessarily, but they do have a Thai, what I believe is a Thai television station
Yeah.
that just airs it. Okay, you know what I'm talking about then.
That's common. Is it
Okay.
do you have the page up? Yeah, it might
I
be
don't
the
have it
same
on.
one.
Yeah, I think it's workflow or something like that. Work
Yeah,
official.
so that's the one that I was trying to tell you about, like, it'll play one, and then, like, right after, it'll play the children's cartoons. It's
There
like
you go. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't have it immediately. It's looking like, but Yeah, that is normal. And the cool thing about that too, from like a cultural standpoint, I don't know much about Thai culture. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching all like the commercials and stuff. I'm like, this is great. This is really fun.
Yeah, they're very exotic commercials and the news ads that you see play. Yeah, it is definitely it's definitely a trip. But
Oh,
I agree
I
with
do
what you're
have it.
saying.
Sorry. But just so that I can put it out there because I
Yes,
just found out that I do.
totally.
Work Point Official is the channel that does have it there.
This is not the one that I have, but make sure to send me this page because I would
Strickland. Yeah.
definitely be watching some more stuff from them. Because yeah, I love the idea that like it's so ingrained in the culture. It's like, all right, fights are over, let's get the kids up for school, you know? Like, I mean, whatever the case may be. No, I think the
Absolutely.
cartoons play in the morning and then you get the news at night and then you get the fights after, whatever the case may be. There's a cycle that they have and it's all linked in one spot. Like imagine if our TV broadcasts weren't all separated for political beliefs and stuff. Imagine if they were all just like in one centralized area and we all got along. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, I don't know.
It what a great world it could be. But yeah, I just it's great. Imagine how like much more you could get into Thai culture with this, Chase. You could be watching RWS, then immediately thereafter you can see Three Fight Three Basket Boy Season 2.
Nice.
I don't know what that is, but you could find out. And then who knows what's actually live right now? So many possibilities. Again, this just opens up a whole new world of options for you. So, yes, WorkPoint Official is the channel if you're interested in that. And as you can see, like I said, this is just 2 days ago was another RWS card. So you got RWS a lot going on over there. Shout
Hell
out
yeah.
to them, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, why don't you give one more shout out to the chat while we are getting things set up here for UFC?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, chat. Give a good shout out to Toe7804 for making his way in here. Nikki Kerr, what promotion is she in to get a sub? Bleeding Edge, of course. Jeremy Hall. TJF, we did not get to shout you out. But By Joy, I don't even know what I'm reading here. 5018. What do you think's going to be on the White House card? Will be just a quick off the bat. Ilya Taporia. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just easy.
Well,
And
I
then
mean
yeah.
Connor definitely somewhere somehow, but what they end up making the actual main event, it depends. Whatever they decide they want out of the two of those. But I think that those are the front runners, obviously against different people, of
And
course.
the last thing, Chad, I want to say before we move on, and this is specific to one, because now that I know that there's more than one, I don't more than one, and actually not just to one. I'm sorry. When you're talking about RSW, share your Thai news channels in the chat right here. Any YouTube channel that you know is playing the Thai news stations and the fights, because I know there's more than one now. I know it's not just the one that I have. There's two, so I'm assuming there's probably like 15 different ones. So you guys, let me know right now what other broadcasts we need to catch on YouTube that are free for us to watch when they get live streamed.
Absolutely. And of course, I'll send you the link to Grabaka. Of course, that's where I'm always looking for my combat sports to
Hell
watch
yeah.
on the stream. And shout out to Kaposa, always doing the Lord's work, keeping us updated on everything that's going on in the combat sports world week by week. I
100%.
appreciate it so much. All right. Well, that all being said, it took us 48 minutes. Hopefully that was a little bit of an around the horn kind of thing of all of the other combat sports that we watched over the past week. But of course, the bread and the butter, the main event of the evening for us here, we've got fights coming up this Saturday. It is in the UFC. It is UFC Fight Night. Strickland versus Hernandez. This thing is taking place at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Shout out to Bleeding Edge, who is from the great city of Houston, Texas, by the way. Yeah, so I mean, we got a lot of fights to talk about here, about coming up here. What are your overall impressions of this card after we ran it down very briefly on the last episode, Chase?
I think it's pretty crazy that this is a fight night. I mean, Sean Strickland is definitely somebody that I figured you because I didn't even think about it up until this week. I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, this presser with Sean Strickland's going to be pretty good, right? Because it's been a while since we've had him on the mic. But no pressure because it's a fight night. And I'm like, oh, well, shit, that's a wasted opportunity. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Especially with, the thing that I sent you in the Discord about Sean Strickland saying something about Fluffy's coach a couple years back. Like, why didn't they do some opportunity with a mic here, whatever the case may be. I feel like missed opportunity. And of course we have Strickland, who's not necessarily the guy to put on the most exciting performances, but we get him in the main event, so hell yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, well, and I mean, they'll have some pre-fight interview stuff, but like what you're saying, yeah, I mean, it is a missed opportunity to have them at the podium together, at the desk together, table or whatever. So, but Strickland kind of doing that off rip anyway with all of the memes that he has been sharing. Very inflammatory memes have been going around from Sean Strickland regarding certain governmental agencies that have been rounding up people of certain ethnic backgrounds, which Fluffy Hernandez is one of the people with that background. So, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. It's yeah, not necessarily it's something I think is the right way to conduct yourself, but certainly a way to get to needle your opponent. I would think. I don't know, any thought on that?
No, not too much. Sean Strickland's gonna Sean Strickland. You know the
True.
deal. So
Fair enough. Well, then, that all being said, I suppose let's start getting into some of these fights. Hey,
yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
so let's start it off here at the first fight of the evening. It's Juliana Miller versus Carly Judice. Miller is 5-3. She is 2-2 in the UFC, with one of those wins being Tough Season 30. Her wins are Brogan Walker by TKO, Ivana Petrovic by unanimous decision. Her losses are to Luana Santos by TKO and Veronica Hardy by unanimous decision. Carly Judice is 5-2, 2-1 in the UFC after a loss on the Contender Series to Ernesta Karatskate. Her wins are over Nicole Cagliari and Yanisi Dubin, both by knockout. Her losses to Gabriela Fernandez by split decision. Her loss to Ernesta was also by split decision.
Yeah, I think this one is very interesting because as you see, there's not much for you to read off their backstory. Normally you have people who are, in their last five or such and such in their last five. It's funny enough, these are two of the women that have the least amount of experience in the organization right now. Eight combined bouts, seven combined bouts. Normally people come into the contender series 7-1, 8-0, things like this. No, these are people, Carly Judice, she stepped in like her record was like fucking 3-2, like 3-1 at the time, like Jesus Christ, somebody knew somewhere that she was fucking good. And I think Juliana Miller, in the same realm, she was in that same boat. These girls are kind of fighting for, whichever one. Obviously, 5-3 is not much better than 5-2. But if you get 6-2, 7-2, you start racking up wins. It's okay. But 5-3 is starting to look like you're not very good. And Juliana
Well,
Miller, go ahead.
oh, and I was just going to say also that Juliana Miller feels like she's been around for a lot longer than that. I mean, like season 30 is only a couple of years ago, but it's still a couple of years ago. I mean, like, I don't know why she has not been fighting more. I mean, granted, 4 fights in the organization over the course of, I think, 3 years, that would have been somewhere around there, is what at least sounds appropriate off the top of my head. That's I mean, I think that there could have been some time for her to like be more active and get that record a little bit higher off rip, unless they didn't want to book her. But anyway, that's just I wanted to throw that in there to off of your point.
Yeah, no, I think this is just an interesting fight because it's very similar. I've always said this. I'm very happy that this came to light. I've always said Dakota Decheva, she can be a fraud over in the PFL because in the UFC we have Carly Judice and we know what a real killer is like. And I've always said, in a way, if you look at Juliana Miller, she kind of look like in the face, she kind of looks like the American version of Decheva. I've always said this. And now that we get them matching up, I think it's only perfect that one of them emerges as the better Decheva clone. And of course, Carly Judice is so slick on the feet. And what I must say is if Luana Santos is TKOing Juliana Miller, it's case closed, guys. I mean, you can't really say too much more. Carly Judice is one of the, if not, I know it's women's MMA, but compared to the men too, she's one of the best fucking strikers we have right now. I mean, she's fucking good. So
I mean, that's high praise indeed. I do agree, though. I mean, these losses are not great. I mean, yeah, getting TKO'd by Luana Santos and unanimous decision loss to Veronica Hardy. These do not look good. Yeah, Juliana Miller is an interesting character. She's I saw Bleeding Edge. I got to highlight the comment here. Saying that Miller fights like she throws pots and pans at home. She has what I would consider some kind of hoodish tendencies to her. She's a little rough around the edges. There's a great video. We watched it on stream a while back. Actually, I think it was me and Vitz King watching it on like the phone while we were on stream. But like Juliana Miller got in like a public altercation in a post office at one point with a man. She was like getting up in his face and stuff and like had to hightail it across the street, and she like jumped a fence. Like, it's all kinds of crazy stuff with her. There's a video that just came out recently that I posted in the Discord of her kind of complaining. I guess somebody showed her the odds to this fight, and she's a massive underdog in this thing. And she was like, I'm going out there to fight extra hard, blah, 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 blah. That was whatever. That just kind of plays to her personality. But what I noticed was she had a black eye in the video, and you kind of mentioned that she might have been slightly inebriated, perhaps, maybe. That's a little speculation, but it sounded like it could have tracked. So I'm just saying she's definitely a personality, but how does that actually equal up in the cage? I mean, when you're fighting Carly Judice, I don't think that it goes very well for you, all things considered.
I think it one shows she's emotional, whatever you want
Definitely.
to say. She's going to go in here with a chip on her shoulder and she's going to try to prove something. And unfortunately, you got to fight smarter than that, especially when listen, Carly Judice has just got all the skills right now. I may not have the takedown stuff, but Juliana Miller, I don't see it happening. I'm just saying, I don't see it happening. You could prove me wrong. You get her down and hold her down. Shout out you. Carly Judice, true, has only faced strikers, but Gabriela Fernandez, I mean, that decent. She can get you down, and if she strikes with you long enough, she might be able to get you anyway. But the point is, I think Juliana Miller. I think I've said this before, and I don't know if it rang too much true, but there's a thing to be said that if you come out of practice with the black eye, if the training partners was whooping you, I mean, the opponent's probably going to get you too. No, I mean, I don't know.
I don't really go off of that. All kinds of stuff happens in training. I'm not really putting too much stock on the black eye necessarily, but you had to be training pretty hard to be getting a black eye, I guess is what I would at least say for that, or at least, maybe some errant shot hit you or whatever. I don't really put all that much stock into it. It really, again, just plays more into the character that she is, because of all people, she would have a black eye for whatever reason, training or otherwise.
I think the most important thing here, Carly Judy, significant strikes landed per minute, 10, almost 11. And then you got Juliana Miller, almost 3. I mean, and the accuracy is obviously almost neck and neck, but I would say that Carly Judice is just going to pop her up. If Juliana Miller can get a takedown, I would give her credit, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Carly Judice is going to shape out to be one of those prospects that just has skills that you don't even know how she came up with them. She's 5-2. It's like, where did she get the level of experience that she's at right now? Because we've already seen it. She's ahead of the game. There's people, when you look at people that get finishes, like, Fatima Klein, even, is somebody who I would say is a little similar to Carly Judice at this point. She has a lot of experience and she trains with Aaron Blanchfield, and there's ties here. Who the fuck is Carly Judice and who is training her? Because she is too good for just be some random girl right now. Like, I don't know.
True. Kind of came out of nowhere and has been doing some good things recently. Yeah, the skill gap is going to be pretty wide, which is kind of crazy thinking that Miller has been around for a lot longer. It feels like anyway, again, somewhat inactive. But you talked about her being emotional. She was emotional on The Ultimate Fighter. I remember that too. She was like one of the people in the house that was a little bit more of a troublemaker than others, kind of thing.
Little
Not that
catty.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like not to the point where it was like, oh, she's a problem, but you could see the tendencies there. Like you said, though, I would be slightly concerned about her having takedown ability that maybe would give Judice a problem, but round start on the feet. Judice is a great striker. She gets past that bullshit. If it's not in round one, it'll be round two kind of thing. Like I wouldn't be too concerned about Miller being able to pull off some crazy slick sub that's like, oh my God, how'd she make that happen? Like, no, she's just gonna try to grind it out, and Judice is gonna be able to grind harder.
I'm liking it. So who are you officially taking in this one?
I'm taking Carly Judice. Yes, I'm.
Okay.
We're locking in on this one. I knew you would, and yeah, I'm agreeing with that. I've never been super impressed with what I have seen out of Miller, and what like exactly what you said about her losses. Those do speak to, like, sometimes the losses don't speak to the character of the fighter. In this case, unfortunately, I think they do.
True, and I think in Carly Judice's case, I when she has lost, to Ernesta and Contender Series, I mean, split decision loss. I mean, that was a war. I mean, Ernesta is not just some slouch. I'm waiting to see her come back, of course. But if Juliana Miller is tough, like, I mean, I've seen tough out of Carly as well, so I'm not worried about the toughness here. I think this is minus 600 is fucking blasphemy, but I mean, it's pretty valid.
And apparently it went up even farther. It might
Yeah.
even be a minus 700 at this point. So kind of crazy, but let that fuel Miller the way that she said she was going to let it fuel her in the video. And we'll see if she can pull off a major upset. But, on paper, yeah, I think Judice is going to be the locked in pick here.
What I will say lastly before we move on,
Sure.
it's if Carly Judice loses, throw them away. Throw both of them away, because I don't want somebody who's 6-3 who just beat the fucking hot prospect. Get her out of here. And if Carly Judice is not the hot prospect anymore, get her out of here. Just don't even have me do it.
Yeesh. Wow,
Don't
strong
have me lose
feelings.
hope, man.
Uh,
Jesus, no. But this will be fun. Like I said, first night or first fight of the card, you got two women, guaranteed banger.
Always. This is something that you've keyed into pretty early on and has been proving itself to be true time and time again. So, a keen observation on your part.
So yeah, I speaking to that, just because make a quick note. Obviously, we
Mhm.
got a little time. Whoever is in charge of running the prelims first couple fights, if it's Mick, Dana, Shelby, Sean, whoever is in charge of getting the first fight to be females and they know who to pick, hats off to you because you know what you're doing, brother. I'll tell you.
Well, I kind of liked the way that I think it was you who said it, where you were like, it kind of almost feels sometimes where you've got like Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, and they both sort of like have their fighters that they're kind of backing as like who they're bringing to the table, and like just seeing who ends up being the better out of that. Not a bad way to conduct it. Like if that's really like if there's any merit to that, we're getting great fights out of it. So if
Yeah.
these guys are out there scouting these women and they're kind of making it so that we have these dog fights in the beginning of the card, it's always a great way to start the card, and it really has been proving itself true time and time again. So I'm all for it.
Hell yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah, same. All right, well, let's move on to the next fight here. This is Jordan Levitt versus Yadier Del Valle. Might remember that name. Levitt is 12-3. He is 3-2 in his last five. His wins are over Kurt Hollabaugh by sub, Victor Martinez by knockout, and Trey Ogden by split decision. His losses are to Chase Hooper and Patty Pimblett, both by submission. Del Valle is 10-0. He is 2-0 in the UFC after a unanimous decision win on the Contender Series. His wins are over Connor Matthews and Isaac Dolgarian, both by submission. Of course, you might remember the fight with Isaac Dolgarian for some extracurricular elements to that one.
This one is interesting. Excuse me, because you have to when it comes to betting, specifically I think this is where the story lies because you have to have an understanding of what you're putting your money into on this fight. Are you betting that Yadier Devalle is that guy that he's believing that Bulgarian, whatever he did, it doesn't matter. I'm still the top dog. Do you think that, or do you think that he truly believes that Isaac, does he believe the betting scandal? Does he actually think Dolgarian threw the fight? This could be key. Does he think that he just fucking roughed this dude up, this hot prospect? I just did him dirty kind of deal. If he comes into this fight with that level of confidence, what is that going to say for the fight? I think you just got to look into it a little deeper than is Jordan Levitt going to have the experience to be able to overthrow it? Is Yadier going to kind of come in reserved with the knowledge that I may not have this, or is he going to come in thinking that I can do whatever the fuck I want? I just beat this dude, and I beat him so bad they thought he threw the fight. Like that's whatever you want to say.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting equation here with this one. Levitt is a dude, I went over those wins that he has. Go down the line. I mean, Victor Martinez, not a super impressive win to me. Trey Ogden, okay. Kurt Hollabaugh, tough guy in his time, not in the promotion anymore, I believe, right? I think they let
Yeah,
Kurt go. His losses, Chase Hooper and Patty Pimblett, obviously Patty just challenging for the belt. Chase Hooper a little bit, kind of maybe middling to an extent, but still a more of a name. That's kind of concerning. It's like if you can beat the guys who are just okay, and then you've got a couple of dudes that you're losing to who are moving a little bit farther past you, that would signal to me that you're kind of plateauing to an extent. Del Valle, too new to really be able to see. I mean, Connor Matthews, whatever, as a win, as that win, and then Isaac Bulgarian being that situation, like I think that Levitt is kind of an interesting guy with the approach that he has to his fights. Like he certainly has a well-rounded skill set that he can use in interesting ways. But like if Del Valle is as powerful as he had appeared to be at times, he might be able to go in and blitz him. I mean, like that, it's hard to know all of the circumstances going into this one because of that. And him not having UFC experience plays into it, but then Levitt having experience that's kind of mixed. What do you make of all of that?
what do I make? I mean, there's also one more thing that you could question. Will the Cubans threaten Jordan Levitt to throw this fight as well? Are we going to have a second investigation under with Yadier Devalle? It's not his fault that the people, whatever happens. He's not commanding them to make people throw the fights. That's just what the people want to do for him, and he wants to win. So we're gonna threaten all the people that he goes against. If we don't throw the fight and make him undefeated champion forever, bad things happen, brother. I don't know what to tell you, you know?
He's got operatives just out there making it
He
that way.
he doesn't have nothing, allegedly. You know, these are
Right, of
people that
course.
ju yes, these are people that just these are rogues, you know? They do whatever they want, you know, and who knows, you know? I don't know.
Betting mercenaries. Yeah, well, I mean, Bleeding Edge on the ground level here, saying that Del Valle is also a Houston resident, and saying that he is very delusional about the betting scandal. So, I mean, I had after the scandal, I mean, after the fight, anyway. I mean, as the scandal unfolded, of course, but after the fight, he was pretty high on himself. He was pretty happy with his skill set and all of the things that he brought to the equation there. Does that give him a false sense of security against a guy like Jordan Levitt? Perhaps, but Levitt has lost by submission in the last two losses that he has had. So is his submission game good enough to go against somebody who is actually going to be fighting? These are the questions, you know?
Yeah, that is definitely the question. Jordan Levitt, I would say, is definitely a good BJJ practitioner. I thought he was going to get Trey Ogden easily because Trey Ogden has no ground game at all. So that was easy pick for me. But will I say he would be able to get a sub against somebody who's competent when it comes to the grappling? Probably not, but I think he might be able to use his experience to get the better of the positions. If Yadier shoots for a takedown, he might just get, tripped up, and he might just get flipped over, and then Jordan Levitt's in full mount, anything like that. But will he finish him? I'm not thinking so. I think Jordan Levitt might be able to get a decision win here, though. Unanimous, kind of crazy, though.
Yeah, that was sort of my thought process as well, was that Levitt, just with having UFC experience and seeing more, being in there more, having a little bit more of a solid understanding of everything that goes into the level of fighting that he is at currently. That was kind of where I was leaning, but I'm not counting Del Valle out, because I did think that he looked pretty good on the Contender Series. I thought that he, I mean, getting the sub win on Connor Matthews, I think, was a little unexpected for me when he finally entered the organization. I think the guy is skilled. So, I mean, it's like, you don't want to necessarily say, oh, the betting scandal just changes everything. It's like, it only changes the dynamics of Bulgarian, really, more than anything else. But if you toss that out the window, he still does have a sub win over Connor Matthews. So again, this one's a little bit of a kind of coin flippy situation to me. I mean, if it comes out as one of these guys just annihilates the other, then fine, I'll take the licks on that. But on paper, to me, this is a pretty, I like this matchmaking. I think this is a pretty like anything can happen kind of match.
And what would you say if I told you that I have sources telling me Jordan Levitt was hit by a car earlier this week? What would you
Is that
say?
I mean, that would certainly change things. Is another Jared Gordon situation going on?
Possibly. I don't know what the Cubans are doing out here in Houston. They could just be riding around doing anything, I don't know. Jordan Levitt, just keep your wits about you. Don't jaywalk. That's just basically what it comes down to.
Wild speculation indeed. But all right. Well, car accidents aside, Chase, we talked it through. Where are you going on this thing?
I'm gonna go ahead and take the UFC veteran at this point, Jordan Levitt. What would you like to pick?
Oh, I also want to go with Jordan Levitt, but I'm
Don't
part of me,
do
I say
it.
part of me wants to go with Del Valle too. I'm like,
You gotta
because I
catch
mean,
up in points. See, if you keep flipping because
I
you don't
know.
want to pick the same as me, I mean, you could be right here, but the point is, if we pick the same one, it's not the best. It's not bad,
It's true. This is the problem with incentivizing our picks here.
Yes.
Um, I mean, my gut is saying Jordan Levitt though, so I mean, I guess I got to go with the gut. I mean, I
Are
think
you
that
sure?
Jordan.
I don't want to sway you.
No,
I
no, no.
know
Of
you want to
course, I don't.
switch.
I
Okay.
appreciate that. I mean, really, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that I will not be like this will not be one that I'm like, oh man, that's so crazy that Del Valle won if he does win. But I mean, experience at the level that they are at, because again, the Connor Matthews fight. That's his first fight in early. Connor Matthews, not super high level guy necessarily. The Bulgarian fight, you just have to throw out. That just does not factor in because of the equation there. I mean, I got to go with the guy that I have seen actually get decent wins against more experienced guys. Again, Chase Hooper is working his way. I mean, he's kind of up and down a little bit, but Paddy Pimblett just challenged for the belt. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I got to believe that level of competition has made Jordan Levitt better. He's not twerking anymore, people. He's not doing the worm anymore. He's a little bit less flamboyant. He's a little bit more locked in. I think Jordan Levitt is where my heart is saying that this goes.
Okay, but hear me out though. I think this might be crucial. They gave Paddy Pimblett Jordan Levitt. Why? Because that's an easy layup for him to get a submission win and obviously skyrocket him into a title shot position kind of deal. Could we see them knowing a little more than us here? They know Jordan Levitt is not the formidable vet that we're building him up to be right now.
But they don't. They ain't trying to build an audience in Cuba.
He's the only Cuban we got. You know, they tried to bring Robellis in, and it didn't work out.
What
So
about what's his name?
Marquez, Julian
Marquez.
Marquez.
Yeah, Julian Marquez. Yeah, come on. We got at least one more.
Is
They
he
didn't try to
still
build him
in?
up.
He lost to Cody Brunson, though. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
maybe he beat
Cody
him. I don't
Brundage,
know.
yeah.
But
Well, either way, you're right. I mean, but I guess the point is that like I don't think that they're necessarily trying to hotshot Del Valle here, and I think that really, honestly, I would say that it's a little bit of the other way. I think that maybe they're trying to like give Jordan Levitt like a new lease on things. Like he's coming off of the wins, he's starting to get himself a little bit better. Not to say that they're trying to build him up as a star, but like he's a decent enough fighter that like it doesn't make like what we have said. This is actually a better point, a little side note, but this does kind of play into what we're talking about here. What we have seen lately, there was a huge purge recently of fighters. Saw Alex Morono get let go, Javid Basharat got let go, Lucas Almeida, a number of fighters got
Gelton
let.
Almeida.
Jalton Almeida is the biggest one of all of those on the recent cuts here. The reason that has been speculated for that is that they are trying to get rid of people who are not exciting fighters. They're trying to thin the herd out so that the fights are more exciting. That's just a theory, but I think it does track with some of the ones that we just mentioned here. That being said, Levitt is not one of those guys that I think fits the mold of that. But if he loses this, maybe that might change. It's one of those things that I think he brings enough to the table that like they're not necessarily like trying to get him out the door, give this guy a fight that he can win, or make it a coming out party for Del Valle. That's gonna be how it's gonna go.
I hate that I'm kind of leaning the other way, but it's only because of the story. I mean, when I look at the weight too, featherweight, it's in dire need of something new. You know, the Cuban guy, undefeated Cuban guy. You know, that's somebody that can get to eighth rank, and they give him Volkanovski like randomly over Movsar because he's boring. You know, like who knows? But
Well,
like
now you're talking yourself into it based on narratives, my friend.
I know, but and that's the crazy part. It's like when you look at MMA and you look at the guy that has more experience, has done more things against more accomplished people, and then he ends up getting smoked in round one. Like, you know, like that's the craziest part. Like that's the unfortunate part. But
No, I mean you're making a lot of sense. And again, I lean back on the thought process that even with the Delgarian fight being what it was, he submitted Connor Matthews. So Levitt is a submission guy, a grappling guy for a lot of it. I mean, like his striking is kind of just okay. His movement is pretty good. I will say that I think that he moves pretty well, so he can be a little agile. But like if it does end up being grapple for grapple, then there is potential for Del Valle here.
I also kind of it's you know, not every fighter is a finisher. You know, not everybody would have Isaac Dolgarian, and if he's throwing the fight, you know, it's not like he can make him finish him. You know,
Sure.
not everybody is gonna have that. You know, some people would have just stood in front of that dude for 15 minutes and just punched him. You know, it would have been, you know, whatever it was. But Isaac Dolgarian, you know, whether he threw the fight or not, you know, Yadier Davale went for the finish, you know, and that's one thing I'll say that he is definitely something that he does go for a finish. So maybe I'm buying into the Cuban Missile Crisis here, guys. I don't know.
Up to you, brother. I mean, I think I'm going to stay with where the heart had led myself to. I mean, we talked it through. What I guess is there anything else left to say besides who you're picking?
No, I think I am also just gonna pick Jordan Levitt because that is what makes sense when you use logic, I would say. But when you use fairy tales, oh yeah, 10-0 Cuban guy, why wouldn't he go get the fucking belt from Volkanovski in the next year? You know, like I don't know.
And who knows? And this is one of the like that's really I think broad note. We say it all the time about guys coming in off the Contender Series, which I mean, even with a win in the organization, he's still newer. Like we just don't know enough yet. And the Bulgarian fight really does throw a wrench in a lot of things when it comes to like the knowledge that you have about this guy, because that could have been like if Isaac Bulgarian had fought like he was supposed to fight, this would have been a very telling fight for us. But since he threw the fight, potentially, now we don't know. So you got to just go off the information that you have. I got enough about Jordan Levitt, especially too. Like, I really do think that he has been making improvements since some of the losses that he'd taken. He seems a little bit more locked in. I'm going to go with that thought process on this. And if Yadier Del Valle proves me wrong here, then the new information will take over the old information.
Oh yeah, yep. So both taking Jordan Levitt, love
I
it.
think so. Yes, it seems like it. And I'm sure we're going to differ on some of these coming up, but some of them, I mean, when the picks are the picks, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, well,
Actually, speaking of that, I'm glad that's why they stopped showing the. I'm glad they stopped showing the odds on ESPN. Like, I know it's kind of weird that they don't do it anymore because they did that, for a while. But it does let us have a more level-headed conversation without being swayed like, God damn, Phil Rowe plus 1,200, like, whatever you want to say. But
no, you're exactly right. I agree, honestly, and you really shouldn't let the odds sway you when it comes to that kind of thing. I mean, if you have a definitive feeling on where the fight is going to go, then that's what you go forward with.
hell yeah. And, maybe that's where Juliana Miller is just going to get tripped up. She's looking too much at the numbers. So,
Stop checking your DMs the week of the fight. You can't
yeah.
be letting the crowd influence you that way. Well,
But
either way,
yeah, speaking of the crowd influencing people, we have a big matchup here where they might wear a face of one of these guys. So go ahead,
guys,
introduce us.
yeah, coming in with a huge amount of support. It's Phil Rowe, but that's not who we're talking about. Phil Rowe is facing Jean-Paul Laboznayani, and you might remember him from the Contender Series with a crowd full of people with little masks on sticks of his face. So, yeah, for whatever reason, this guy had a big following. But to fully introduce this thing, yes, Phil Rowe is 11-6. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Angelosa and Nico Price, both by knockout. His losses are to Seok-Young Ko and Jake Matthews, both by unanimous decision, and Neil Magny by split decision. Laboznayani is 9-2. He is making his UFC debut after a win on the Contender Series. He got a knockout on the Contender Series. He is on a 4-fight win streak, and his last loss was for the LFA lightweight championship.
This one is very interesting because you have two people who are very high on themselves. Phil Rowe, for some reason, believes that he has some crazy jujitsu in his bag, and then also is just some killer striker when he normally gets manhandled for 3 rounds and then somehow pulls it off in the last fucking moments. At least that's what he did with Angelos. Now, the thing about Jean Paul Bosniani, if you go back and watch his press or his little promo cuts for the Contender Series, this dude, and I'm not even kidding you, it might even be a quote. I think he said God put him on this earth to be the grappling king or some shit like that. Like, brother, you're 9-2 already and you're getting your UFC debut. So that speaks to me as like you're not as good as you think you are, unfortunately. I know LFA championship, that was one of your losses. That's cool. But my thing is, let's humble it up a little bit. I think this is genuinely, I'm telling you, I think this is a plant. There's no way that just hundreds of people have your face on a stick without the crowd being handed that. Like, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it for one moment because when I see Jean Paul Labozniani, I think he's got the name. I think he's got people backing him. Yes, but I think it is more or less that they're trying to get him in here because he'll get a lot of views for him. Phil Rowe is somebody who can get beat for 3 rounds. They're just hoping Jean Paul can get a finish within 3 rounds, kind of deal, which is very possible. They gave him an opponent that is very similar to who he finished on the Contender Series, which is just some tall, lanky striker who's going to stand in front of him. Jean Paul Labozniani, I don't believe he's actually 5'11". I think that is a fucking lie. I think he's a lot shorter than that. But the point is, he's supposed to come out here and put on a fucking performance. He's supposed to take it anywhere he wants. He's supposed to get this shit done. I don't think he's gonna go ahead and strike with him. Obviously he could. He probably can get a finish if he wanted to. I didn't believe he was gonna do it on Contender Series, and he did it, and I'll believe in his striking, but he said himself, he's put on this earth for grappling. Like, he's going to go in here, and Phil Rowe's got a black belt, and he's going to go submit a UFC opponent on his debut. I mean, you guys need to put it in the books right now. It's submission win right here for John Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I do recall him saying what you had said to some very degree. I don't exactly remember the quote, but it was not dissimilar to what you just said. He definitely comes in with a chip on his shoulder. I believe that they had said that his father is like a high level grappling guy, comes from a family background of competition. So, he's coming in with a kind of his own cult of personality, whether it's actually people buying into it, like with the crowd, or, like you said, if he was a plant giving out the face masks, whatever. I don't care about any of that shit anyway. But like, whatever the case may be, he is creating his own atmosphere as far as how he conducts himself. Phil Rowe has been one of the spottier guys that we have seen, and I key in on Phil Rowe because Phil Rowe is representing Central Florida out here, man. It's somebody who is our figurehead on the world stage to an extent. So I'm like, I want Phil Rowe to be a representative and do well. He does not do that often. I mean, they're the one of those wins that we were just talking about. I believe it was the Angelosa fight. He was getting whipped for 2 rounds and came back in the third round with a Hail Mary that just happened to work out. The last fight that he was in, he got consummately annihilated. So, I mean, like, this is a really good setup for Lebosnayani over here as a guy who is beatable, a guy who, for some reason, seems to have his own inflated sense of ego. If you've seen Phil Rowe, he sometimes is a commentator or like an on screen personality for the CJI. And he's kind of just around. I've seen him on like podcasts and stuff too. I'm not trying to talk shit about him as a person. He seems like a nice guy, but you can tell that he kind of carries a little swag with him. It's like, bro, you got to earn that swag when you're out there doing it in the cage. And I'm just not sold on the skill set after what I've been seeing with Phil Rowe. I wanted to believe. This is why I know so much about it. This is why I'm so keyed into it, is because I wanted to be a believer. You got to earn that belief. And when I'm seeing the spottiness, I'm just like, bro, what am I supposed to believe out of that? So it's like you got this guy, Lebosnayani. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm buying into the hype, but I am buying into the idea that he can beat this guy.
I think the thing that's unfortunate that I can't really read yet is John Paul Bosniani, in my opinion. Yeah, they planted him. They gave him this opponent. This should be a win for him. But normally for people like that they want a rocket ship, they would give him somebody there's a name that means something, like obviously Phil Rowe lost to a Neil Magny. Amasov came in, debut got, obviously this dude's not got the resume for something like that, but you would think a bigger name than Phil Rowe would be kind of on the plate if he's going to be some sort of rocket ship kind of player in the game.
Well, I mean, it is his debut though, so I mean, it's like
True.
that could be the next one. You know what I mean? Like if he gets this good win here, like if he finishes this fight, then that's probably right behind it. I would say is somebody with a
True.
little bit more name value.
Yeah, no, I like this one a lot, but I'm leaning towards John Paul. So, what would you like to take your pick on?
I mean, I hate to keep picking the same here with you, Chase, but like I think I have to go the same way. Mostly because I just am not confident in Phil Rowe. Now, can Phil Rowe win this fight? This is supposed to be in Phil Rowe's backyard as far as what his skill set goes. If Lebosnayani is saying I'm the skilled grappler guy, I'm going to do that. That is my game plan. Phil Rowe he's a flow grappling dude. Like he's supposed to be able to handle that. So could he? I want to say yes, but what I have seen says otherwise. So, I mean, Lebosnayani, I just think it makes more sense. And also, the other thing too is that regardless of whether he's a grappling guy or not, knockouts on the record. So
Hmm.
you pair that, you pair at least the ability to hold his own on the ground with, hopefully with a Phil Rowe and knockout ability. I mean, we've seen Phil Rowe take shots, bro. I mean, like that, it's just there are too many factors that Phil Rowe is like leaving in the ether for me not to be like, that's a thing, that's a thing. I can't let those lie.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely taking John Paul. Yeah,
Yeah, so am I.
good deal.
All right. Well, that's that then, I suppose. Next one up, this is an interesting match. I like this match a lot here. This is Ramiz Brahimaj versus Punahele Soriano. Brahimaj is 13-5. He is 4-1 in his last 5. His wins are over Austin Vanderford, Billy Goff, and Michael Gilmore, all by sub, and a win over Mickey Gall by TKO. His loss is to Temba Garimbo by unanimous decision. Punahele Soriano is 12-4. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Nikolai Veretennikov and Miguel Baeza by unanimous decision and Uros Medic by knockout. His losses are to Dustin Stoltzfus by submission and Roman Kopylov by knockout.
Yeah, so I really do like Ramiz. I think he's very fun. He's got his cone head hat that he wears. It's always a good time, and he goes for finishes. But unfortunately, I think Punahele is exactly like Timbo Garimbo in the way that this is somebody who's going to get to decision. Like that's his bread and butter. It's just getting to decision. He's going to outlast all the damage. And yeah, he finished Medic, which is pretty crazy when you actually when you think about man, he finished Medic. What was the loss to? You said read off his one more time for
For
Punahele.
Punahele, his losses to Dustin Stoltzfus by sub and Roman Kopylov by knockout.
Ay, ay, ay. I mean, okay, those are named people at least. He's been around again, UFC vet kind of guy. Brahimaj has definitely faced lower tier guys. Oh, Veritenikov is the one I was thinking of. That's an aging well. That's aging well for Punahele, I guess. I mean,
And to an extent, I mean, yeah,
to
as a striker for striker, I will say yes, that does age somewhat well. But yeah, I mean, the Dustin Stoltzfus sub kind of sticks out. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt, but
you're fine. I think I think unfortunately as I see it right now, and I've never been a Punahele fan, but I do know that this guy, from his background, it looks like he's going to be hard to knock out. Let me just say it that way. And I could be wrong. Maybe he's going to get finished. Brahimaj is a very powerful striker, and he is a very good grappler. But Punahele, I'm leading to believe he might just walk away with a decision easily. Brahimaj might give him one good round, and if he doesn't get a finish, we probably won't see the same Brahimaj that we saw in the first round. I think that's just unfortunately what I'm visioning here.
yeah, I wanna believe a little bit more in Brahim. As a guy who I think has been making like noticeable improvements fight over fight. A unanimous decision loss to Themba Garimbo does stick out to me. Very, that speaks loudly. I'm like, I don't know about all that. But I do think that he's a dude, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was one of those guys that had like some kind of medical thing at some point or something like that. He had gone through some adversity that kept him outside of the of competition for a while, came back, devoting himself to it. He's a New York guy, so he's like, he's got that sort of New York dog in him kind of deal a little bit as well. Punahele definitely comes from, the island stock, so he's a tough guy. Knocking out Medic. Medic is a killer be killed guy. Veritenikov is, aging well, as we had said. Baeza, whatever. The sub loss kind of does maybe play a little bit in there, but I don't think Brahima is trying to go for the sub necessarily, is what it seems like. I mean, he does have two sub wins, or three actually, so maybe he is. So yeah, maybe that's the way. I mean, actually, I take it back. I don't know. I think what I'm getting at is that I think Brahimai is on the come up, is what it seems like to me. Soriano has always kind of just been like a little bit of a middler to me. Like I've never really seen like that
He's like
spark.
a Brad Tavares.
Exactly. Very good comparison. Exactly. Because it's like he's there, he's tough, he's a good competitor. He's a guy who's going to show up and do the thing. But like I have never seen like the spark of like that guy is next up out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think, everybody has a natural evolution to the game. You can't just continue to get, quick submissions your entire career. I mean, Walter Walker, of course, is making a career out of it right now, but Brahima in the same way, he's just getting very quick finishes. The level of competition has to raise. We have to keep finding people that are going to give you a different skill set that we have to figure out if you can overcome. Punahele is not the type of guy to get finished on the feet, at least, and I don't believe, like you said, Stolzfus, he's a pretty damn good grappler. I'll give you guys that. But only been submitted once. So I mean, two finishes in his career that he has against him. But Brahimaj, we're gonna have to find out if he's gonna be able to finally win a decision. If Karimbo could do it to him, Punahele probably can do that too.
Well, what I would say to that point, and this is kind of an extrapolation, so you can take it or leave it, but the Mickey Gall fight, I think, sticks out to me a little bit because he did get the TKO eventually in that fight, but he dragged Mickey Gall through hell in that fight. Now, Mickey Gall, I mean, his career is, that's a whole ball of wax that you don't need to get into. But the point is that he never really kind of lived up to his like total potential, in my opinion. But like I bring it up to say that Brahimai, like if he can start the momentum like on the feet, like if he gets into that point where it's like I'm dragging him, I'm doing all the things I need to do, I'm getting my hands on him, I'm actually landing shots and stuff like that, he will go the distance to make the TKO happen. Even if he can't do it against Punahele, he might be able to inflict enough damage that he does end up getting the nod off of it. But again, that's it's Mickey Gall and Punahele are different people, so I don't want to say that that's a one-to-one comparison. I just know what I saw in the Mickey Gall fight does at least give me the impression that he will go the 15 minutes. He's not going to quit on himself or gas out to an extent where he can't.
Hell yeah. So I don't know. I'm pretty torn here, honestly. I would like to pick Brahima because he's the more fun, exciting fighter, and he's very good at what he does. But I think my mind and my brain is telling me to go with Punahele. And again, it's not because I'm a big fan or I'm biased or shout out USA, whatever the case may be. Punahele He's just your standard typical decision merchant, and those are good people to bet on because statistically they get the job done, and if they don't get finished, and then as the fight progressively goes on, they win the fight. It's kind of a win-win.
For
So
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that the thought process is wrong in the slightest. I'm going to go with Ramiz. I'm going to stick with the mindset that he has been making incremental improvements. He's come back, after the adversity that I talked about with the illness and all of that, looking like he really wants to make a mark on this sport. Sub wins. Punahele has a sub loss. I think that the thought process kind of tracks on my side as well. I'm locking in on Brahimi for this one. And his you called it a cone head hat. I call it a nipple hat.
hell yes. Well, we are finally disagreeing. If anybody out there is listening, make sure you like the person whose picks you like the most. Of course, make sure you show your appreciation and make sure you know which one is out here cooking up for you. So
Absolutely. We are streaming to our individual channels, youtube.com/at Yama Show for me, youtube.com/at CP Smalls for Chase, like the streams.
hell yeah, of course. And yeah, I think that's about it for it. I'm gonna go ahead and put my stock in Puna Haley and we'll go for it.
Yeah, yeah, and I will ride with Ramiz on this one. Looking forward to this fight. Though I like this fight. I think that this is that I like the dynamics of it. I think that this could be a fight that will be telling for either one of these guys going forward. So hopefully we see some good data come out of this.
You know what? I know the girls are probably gonna show out early in the fight, but potentially that fight right there might be fight of the night worthy. At least when it happens, you'd be like, all right, as of right now, that's the fight of the night with
The
Brian
the
Raj and Puna
the
Haley.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It has potential for that. I mean, and also if we do end up seeing a finish out of that because of the dynamics that we just talked about, I think that would speak volumes as well.
Hell yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens in this one. Maybe this could potentially be fight of the night. Who knows? This is Nora Cornell versus Jocelyn Edwards. This is actually a rematch between these two ladies, which I was looking through while I was doing my research, and I was like, why are they having a rematch? They just fought each other in 2023. It's because it's women's bantamweight, and I think that tells you what you need to know. There's just not enough going on in women's bantamweight, would be my suspicion here. But either way, this is a rematch between these two ladies. So when you hear the names come up, that is why. Nora Cornell is 9-3. She is 3-2 in her last 5. Her wins are over Haley Cowan by sub, Melissa Mullins by TKO, and Jocelyn Edwards by unanimous decision. Her losses are to Carol Hosa by unanimous decision and Jacqueline Cavalcante by split decision. Edwards is 16-6. She's 3-2 in her last 5. Her wins are over Priscilla Kashweda and Chelsea Chandler by knockout, Tamiris Vidal by submission. Her losses are to Eileen Perez and Nora Cornell by unanimous decision. She is on a 3-fight win streak after a 2-fight losing streak before that.
This one is definitely interesting, and I did not know this was a rematch. Unfortunately, shit happens in the bantamweight division over in women's MMA. But as of right now, I'm really high on Jocelyn Edwards. I really think that she's really coming around to it. She's 30 years old. She's coming around to her physical prime. Whatever you want to say. She's very She's very skillful. She's very effective. She's very imposing for the division. Not many people in bantamweight. When we talk about Macy Chiasson, she's just slender and it's not a stern body, kind of deal. Jocelyn is a filled out frame, and again, young, good size, a lot of skills, very confident in her striking, and I think that's what she's come along to more recently. Nora Cornell, 9-3 at the age of 36, guys. I mean. I know she beat her already, but hopefully she's just lost a step in the last 2-3 years, whatever the case may be. She was 33 then and had a good moment. I mean, she's not very active as it is. 9-3 is crazy because I feel like I've seen her fight twice, and like you would think like, damn, you didn't fight any time before I came into the sport, like Jesus Christ. But Jocelyn Edwards, I'm really hoping that you can figure out something. Unanimous decision loss to Nora Cornell, and then you come back 3 years later, or whenever you come back the moment you can get the opportunity for a rematch. I feel like Jocelyn Edwards, maybe there was something going on in that fight. Maybe there was an injury. Maybe she missed weight, bad weight cut. Who knows what the deal was? I'm going with Jocelyn Edwards because I'm telling you, she's on the come up. Nora Cornell never really struck to me as somebody who's like very, very good. Like she's good, okay, very good, sure. But when it comes to the elite status of like who's going to be the next level, like I know I like Melissa Mullins, and people will be like, dude, she fucking TKO Melissa Mullins. I'm like, yeah, but like, I didn't it didn't do it for me, like it didn't really prove to me that she could go out here and finish Jocelyn Edwards, like Jocelyn Edwards is kind of a dog, she's not someone to take lightly. I've brought this up before, she's the type of girl that backstage she'll sneak you one if you were talking shit online. So I like Jocelyn Edwards. I think she's very, very fun. She's very effective at what she does. And of course, she wears the size XXS size shorts, and we appreciate her very, very much.
Fair. On a previous episode of this show, I had said after one of Jocelyn Edwards' more recent wins that I, for the longest time, have been a pretty solid hater. I've always kind of downed her. I didn't really think that she had much to offer this sport, and over time, what I have seen is that she has proven me wrong. She has been um, upping her abilities in a way that is actually getting her significant wins and finishes at times now too. I mean, like she's becoming a finisher, and as I say all the time, when you are a finisher and you are a woman, you stand out from the pack instantly. That all being said, the thought process has evolved for me a little bit, and this is a message to E Money J. There's a guy named E Money J who comes into the chat every once in a while. He's a big bettor, and he likes to needle me about when I change my opinions about things. I go off of the empirical data when it comes to this kind of stuff. And what I'm seeing empirically is that Jocelyn Edwards has been making improvements fight over fight that are noticeable now. So I have evolved my thought process here. So I don't want to hear it about, oh, you used to think one thing and now you think, yes, I'm changing how I think about things. That's what people do when they are presented with new information, or they should at least. So that being said, I think that this matchup here is actually really perfect for Jocelyn Edwards. Cornell she's very intense for like the first half of the fight. You start wearing her down later in the fight, openings start coming left and right. She starts getting sloppy. I think that Edwards has like a more well-rounded skill set at this stage of the game. The evolution goes right into that. Their first fight gets tossed out the window now after all the improvements she's making. I think that Jocelyn Edwards might be my pick on this one as well.
What I will say is very, very likely, and I'm gonna believe, because like you've been mentioning, Jocelyn Edwards is making the improvements that's changing her career trajectory. She's on the upward right now. She's getting finished. She's doing the necessary things that's getting wins. And what I think that starts with is a good diet. I think she's in the mode where she's done getting close to missing weight or having bad weight cuts, because there have been times where she's been close on the scale, I believe,
Both
and or
both
have missed.
sides, yeah.
And that's where I was going next. I think Nora Cornell, getting older, obviously, I've seen her step on the scale and she's had a little muffin top going on, and she's missed weight. I've never thought she's the person that looks like she's always chiseled to the core. She's never been super in shape to me. I think at age 36, it's time that we're going to see somebody miss the fucking bantamweight limit like Chelsea Chandler again. So it's just how it goes. And if I'm not mistaken, or if I am mistaken, Jocelyn Edwards potentially, with the weight issues in the past, we could see both of them miss by a pound or something, just like Wang Tong and Eduardo Moira. But who gives a shit? As long as fight goes on, as long as it's not an egregious fucking 5 pound weight miss kind of deal. Unfortunately, I think Jocelyn Edwards would take the fucking fight, if it was something like that. But we'll have to look into it. Guys, chat, let us know if there was a weight miss in the first fight between these, because that might have been one of the fucking ones that they missed. But either way, it doesn't matter. Jocelyn Edwards is going to be my pick. What would you like to throw down, Thinker?
Yeah, I think I'm also going to go with Jocelyn Edwards on this one. Yeah, I mean that is something to keep in mind. I do believe that both of these women have had problems with weight misses in the past. I mean, if it is going to wash out, then good. I guess it's like it. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it when anybody misses weight. But if they're going to miss it with each other, then okay, I guess. Hopefully they both make weight. We'll know later in the week, of course. But at least as of right now, as all the factors are as they are, I think I'm also going to go with Jocelyn Edwards. I mean, I gotta practice what I preach here. If she's impressing me enough for me to say I have to, like when you are forcing me to change my mind about you, then I got to go with that. So I'm with it. I think that she's going to do it. And Nora Cornell, unfortunately, has not done that. I think that she's kind of stayed within the same box that I kind of was already putting her in. Someone who is tough, someone who, if she can overwhelm you, will be able to do it early in the fight. I think Jocelyn Edwards is able to hang long enough. If it was a unanimous decision win in the last one, obviously it went all 3 rounds. So I think that she sticks it out, and I think she's able to maybe overcome later in the fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jocelyn's gonna win by submission in this one.
Oh wow! All right, bold claim. I'm just going to take her by. I mean, I go by decision, but again, she is becoming more of a finisher. So I'd love to see a finish out of her with this one. That would be a nice way to solidify this rematch.
So if anybody out there is listening, the Jocelyn Edwards and John Paul Labozniani submission play is live. Just letting you know.
And if that hits, then you've got Chase to thank. Come in here and heap him with praise.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, good deal. All right, well, let's move on to the next one then. This is a this could be somewhat interesting, and it could definitely have implications for one of these guys. This is Alden Correa versus Luis Gurule. Correa is 11-3. He is 1-0 in the UFC. His win is over Alessandro Costa by knockout. He was 4-0-1 in his last five. No contest between two wins on either side of it. So, if you threw the no contest out of there, he would be on a 4-fight win streak. Gurule is 10-2. He is 0-2 in the UFC after a split decision win on the Contender Series. His losses are to Jesus Aguilar by unanimous decision and Ode Osborne by knockout. He was on a 10-fight win streak prior to those two losses. Both these guys are former Fury FC fighters.
This one, I'm not going to act like I know too much about them, but I will say they're flyweights, and they are listen, flyweights get active, and you guys should know this by now. Louis Garule, he was on Contender Series, and like you said, won by split decision, so big whoop. The fact he got signed was kind of reaching for stuff. Is probably in the moment where we needed flyweights, where we thought we weren't going to have a fucking flyweight title contender until Josh Van emerged kind of deal. But Louis Garule, yeah, the two losses that he's taken, not really my favorite to think about, but Alden, again, I don't know too much about him. You said he fucking faced Costa and knocked him out. I can't even tell you when that happened or remembered it, you
Oh
know?
well,
So,
I can tell you it was, I believe, on not Noche at the Sphere, but the other Noche card, the more recent Noche. I think that was Lopez and Silva, I want to say.
yes.
So I think it was on that card. And the other reason why you might know him is he's Josh Van's buddy.
Nice. So him, Michael Aswell, and Josh Van are in a trio right now. That's pretty cool.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's. Maybe I want to say that that's correct. I think that
I
that's
think you are too, because I as soon as I saw his name, I was like, that's something about Josh Van. I was in my mind thinking Josh Van has some relation to this, but it might just be that they're Fury FC kind of guys that
true.
and live in in Houston or whatever, which is kind of a fun opportunity for him to get a hometown moment against somebody who's 0-2 in the promotion. Louis Garule, I mean, you're fighting for your fucking job here, buddy. I mean,
It's kind of what I was getting at when I was introducing this fight. I was like, I mean, this has implications most definitely for Gurule, and he's a guy that, like, I mean, I thought he was pretty fun on the Contender Series. I was sort of like rooting for him as like a dark horse kind of deal, but I mean, losing to Ode Osborne, actually, when I went to check the records, I kind of like, did a little extra navigating and looked at Ode Osborne's record. I mean, just so spotty. It's like a loss to him is, not really the greatest there. And Jesus Aguilar by unanimous decision. That was a fight that, he really probably should have won if he was going to be somebody who we should be keeping an eye on in the division. Flyweight is supposed to be the most fun, the most exciting, and the fastest division. He really does not live up to those credits, sadly. And I mean, I'm really not trying to dogpile the guy because I don't dislike him. I think he has a good grappling skill set. He's really like a wrestler grappler kind of guy that will force his opponent around, but this is the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys they're used to that. They are ready for that. Now, Correa, he is newer. So, I mean, there is some potential maybe there. I mean, I think that the knockout was if I want to say it was a little bit later in the fight. I'm trying to think. I think it might have been. So like, I mean, he did end up finishing the fight at some point there. I gotta believe that Correa has, like, at least based on what we know about the two of them, he has at least the things that stick out to me more than what I have seen out of Gurule. And I never like to see someone who has a massive win streak. This guy was 10-0 before his last two fights. He is now 10-2 with those two fights. That does not bode well, in my opinion.
yeah, but as Bleeding Edge can confirm, all three of Josh Van, Michael Aswell, and Alden Correa train out of the 4 Ounce Fight Club,
True.
and they only produce dogs. And I'm actually going to root for Alden Correa to go ahead and finish Louis Garule's career right here, because PFL needs flyweight prospects as well, guys. So
Yeah, I mean, and we really are keeping in lockstep on a number of these, but like, I mean, really, again, this goes strictly off of the data, I've just really, it's not even the Ode Osborne loss as much. I mean, that's not great, but it really is the Jesus Aguilar loss that was, to me, like, I'm looking at it, I'm watching him having trouble, navigating a fighter who, at this stage of your career, when you're entering the organization, you should be able to be a little bit more aware of. You should have better bodily awareness to be able to move more effectively. Like, there were noticeable flaws in Grulet's game. That's why, again, I really don't want to be like hating on the guy, but like when I said flyweights are fast and exciting and competitive, all these things, I'm like, he just does not exude the qualities that you need to have in flyweight in the UFC. Like, it's just a different delineation of the type of person that you get in this division, in this promotion, and I just don't think he cuts it.
So what's your pick? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I got to go with Corey, man. I have to. It's, I mean, maybe he gets gets the grappling going. Maybe he, his fights, like his contract's on the line. That could certainly happen here. There is potential for him, and I'd like to see it. Change my mind is what he is really at the point of having to do. Because if you don't change my mind, you're going to be, doing your fights in another promotion, and we'll have to evaluate there.
Hell yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm definitely taking Corey as well.
you think he's going to be able to pull off another knockout?
I mean, Garula got knocked out by Ode Osborne. It's not necessarily promising that this dude's fucking iron chinned over here. So
Yeah,
probably.
that's what I mean. This could be another nice notch in the belt for Coria.
Yeah, true. And if he's on the way to come take his buddy's belt, I'm gonna have something to say about it. So
Then we have to be Jim versus Jim in an epic showdown.
hell yeah.
All right, give me a second here.
No, absolutely. Thinker, get you a drink of water. Shout out to Bleeding Edge for coming in here, and Meat Rocket, by the way. We didn't actually give you a shout out, but I'm glad you're here. And we didn't worry. You were here. Yeah, we didn't worry. But yeah, no, we knew you were coming. And everybody else, shout out to you one more time.
Yes, appreciate all of you guys hanging with us for sure. All right, well, speaking of Ode Osborne, I guess that's why I did the extra dive into his record, is because he's also fighting on this card. Ode Osborne is fighting Alibi Idiris. Of course, we know him as well. Osborne is 13-9. He is 1-4 in his last 5. His win is over Luis Gurule by knockout. His losses are to Steve Urseg, Ronaldo Rodriguez by unanimous decision, both of those, Jafil Filio, and Asu Almabayev by submission, both of those. Idiris is 11-1. He is 0-1 in the UFC, counting his tough finale, which was the tough finale win so he lost in the tough finale. That is the win inside the organization. He did win the semifinals on tough before that. So, that got him into the finals, obviously. His loss in that was to Joseph Morales by submission.
Yes. This one is interesting because this is classic case of veteran versus prospect. You have a guy who clearly jumped into an opportunity and got submitted in the first round because he's an idiot. I mean, unfortunately, that's what the case may be. I've talked about these tough guys before. They're not at the skill level that we wish they were. Sometimes they are just TV personalities. They are the guy that is going to be enough to get eyes on a TV show. It's not necessarily here to be the greatest fighter of all time, because that's just not what they've been. With the label of the ultimate fighter, you would think we would have like a resume of tough guys that are just like cream of the crop, but it's just not what the case may be. Sometimes they are very, very fluky, and Alibi might end up being that dude. But I think honestly, come on, this is a win for him. There's no way that you can think Ode Osborne's not gonna do what he classically does and just lose. Look at where Alibi is from, guys. He takes this shit seriously. He's from Kazakhstan. They don't just come to fucking fight just because they want to lose one and then be out there. No, they do this because this is their life. There's no other option for Alibi at this point. He's got to beat Ode Osborne, because if he doesn't, he's headed back to Kazakhstan to probably fight in some other promotion that we've never heard of. So I would really hope for Alibi that he gets this win very emphatically. This dude is another one of those guys that, when you looked at his backstory, he's got all these belts, he's got all these trophies, very credentialed for he might have even been an LFA guy too, but I don't think so. That doesn't make sense. But either way, he's on another promotion. He had a bunch of belts, and he comes in and gets subbed by fucking Joseph Morales in the first round. You cannot let that happen. Ode Osborne is somebody who is checkerboard at best and is 1-4 in his last 5. You have to put this dude out. I'm definitely taking Alibi, and I was burned the first time I took Alibi when he came to the UFC against Joseph Morales. So I've learned not to put money on him, of course, but I will be taking him when it comes to picking who is going to win the fight.
All right, fair enough. I mean, all of these things track as a, a thought process here, but I would go the opposite route by saying that Osborne, 1-4 in his last five, he needs this win. I mean, this is an important win for him. And also, just coming off of, I mean, not just, but recently his last win, his only win in the last five, is over a newer guy, a guy coming off the Contender Series. This might be where he shines as being the dude who says you ain't it, for the level of skill that you need when you come into this promotion specifically. The reason that I will say this too is because if you recall, Joseph Morales, a dude who was on The Ultimate Fighter after already having UFC experience. We were commenting on that at the time, saying, why is this guy allowed to be here with all of these other new guys when he has already had his time in the promotion to get the experience? So obviously he was going to win. But I say that to say that Osborne is that times 3, times 4. He's been in the promotion forever now, it feels like. So I want to believe that Ode Osborne ends up putting Alibi into a position that he is not going to want to be in this fight. I think that the striking will be enough to kind of get him off base. I think that hopefully Osborne's going to be able to hold his own when it comes to the grappling, which is I think what Alibi's going to want to do more. That was, I think, Joseph Morales' big, claim in that fight was that he was able to negate all of the takedown attempts and then turn it into some offense of his own. Very skilled in that regard. Osborne, not maybe as much, but I'm thinking that this is another one because exactly what you said, we've been let down consistently by the Ultimate Fighter alum. I think that this plays right into that. Osborne with way more experience in the promotion. I'm going to ride with Ode Osborne on this, and I think Alibi ends up going somewhere else.
All right, Ode Osborne and Alibi it is. I'm excited for this one. We got a lot of flyweights on this card, guys. We got a lot going on. I like it.
Yeah. They're trying to fill out the lower ranks of flyweight because of what we've got at the top so much.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there a lot of interesting fights on here. A lot of the flyweights that we have are like the lower level flyweights. So it's like, okay, good, perfect. Get these guys moving up, get their wins up, and now make them into people who we need to pay more attention to. So I mean, that's why, like, I think that there are certain guys like that are going to be able to ascend in that regard, and other ones who I don't think are going to. Alibi might be in that camp, but if he beats Ode, I'll think more. I'll think more highly of him.
Hell yeah.
All right. Chidi Njokuani is fighting Carlos Leal as well on this card. Of course, Chidi Njokuani is 25-11. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos by knockout, Jared Gooden by unanimous decision, Reese McKee by split decision. His losses are to Jake Matthews by submission and Mikhail Olashechek by knockout. Leal is 22-7. He is 1-2 in the UFC. His win is over Alex Morono by knockout. His losses are to Hanat Fakhretdinov by unanimous decision and Muslim Salihov by knockout.
This fight is very interesting. I don't know what to think about it, but I do know one thing. This fight is guaranteed a finish. I mean, these guys, Carlos Leal, he's not the guy that I think is going to get finished either because Chidi Njokuani he's been finished 5 times on the feet by strikers, and then submitted 4 other times. This dude's been finished 9 times out of his 11 losses. He always is going to look to, go out in this fucking fight. Carlos Leal, though, getting knocked out by Muslim Salikov, now that I realized and I've noticed that was the first time this dude's ever been chinned. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how does that even happen? Because he looked like a fucking monster in the performance before that, and then Muslim just shuts him down completely. I'm really praying that we just had the one-off performance where we had fucking Kung Fu Panda come out here and put the skadoosh on Carlos Leal. Like I'm praying that he comes back and looks very, very good. And Chidi, I think, is going to be this type of guy who brings a fight, but I don't think he's going to be the one that wins it, considering he's been finished multiple times before. But in the past, I have picked Chidi because he is a fun fighter. He does get he's got good clinch work, good elbows, good knees, but he's 37 years old. He's already been finished 5 other times on the feet. Carlos Leal, again, looked like a guys, and I can't express. I know he got knocked out, and I know you guys are forgetting just how good he looked against what was it, Reinat Fakhretdinov?
Yes, yeah.
dude, like we all know they robbed him. We all know they robbed him on short notice in a enemy territory. Walked in and walked out, and we know he won that fight. So I just think it's crazy to not believe in Carlos Leao. Just one more time is all we're asking, because at the end of the day, Muslim Salikov, he is one of the greatest strikers on the planet Earth. You know, this dude can set up a shot and you know, get you to have your hands down and then punch you in the head. You know, it is possible, and he hits you right on the right spot, and his body.
Kick you in the head too, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there was a lot of things that could have happened to Carlos Leao, and it happened very quick, and he got caught. People get caught. It was the first time that's ever happened to him, by the way. And honestly, he got caught by a dude who's very slick at striking. It's not just like some bum who hit him with a 1-2. I mean, yeah, Muslim hit him with a very basic strike, but like you got to understand, it was because the threat of everything else that was going on. You know, it. I want to give Carlos Leao a little bit of. I want to give him some respect. I want to take him right here. I think this is the move, and I'm telling you, Cheaty is just a little too old at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, age does. Chidi is 37, so I can understand that being a little bit of a factor. But to me, it's not even really that. Like, it is just the fact that Chidi has just let me down many times at this point. Because I also thought Chidi's a fun fighter. He's a dude who, I want to root for. I think that there are good qualities to him. But like, I mean, split decision win over Reese McKee. It's like, okay, now we're like already in a territory where it's like, bro, you're having a close fight with Skeletor. That's not something that I'm really liking there. He lost by knockout to Mikhail Olashechek before the Fighting Nerds.
Mhm.
These are the things I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, these are like, there are elements of Chidi that I do like, and I do think he's a tough guy in a general sense, but he's a guy that when he encounters a dude who is going to out tough him, he can't hang, I think, is unfortunately what it comes down to. Or, being a little bit kinder, maybe he could at one time, but 25-11 later, things change a little bit. So that's why I say, I'm never the guy to like to put it all on the age. It's like, I do think that there are certain guys. Muslim Salikov is a perfect example of a guy who can still get wins later into his career. Chidi and Jukwani just does not scream that to me. Carlos Leal, like you said, it was a slightly fluky loss to Salikov, and perhaps, and that was the only time it had happened, whatever. I mean, like the Fakhretdinov fight, we saw what like he does bring to the table. He got the knockout on Morono. We just saw Morono go to a freaking war with Daniil Danchenko, and Danchenko couldn't do that. So, like, I mean, I think that there's more to Leal than a single fluky-ish knockout would lead one to believe. I don't think that you can judge all off of that one fight. So I think, and because of that, if you're looking at all of what you have out of Chidi versus this one thing that you have out of Leal, I think that it starts to become a pretty clear picture to me. I also am going to go with Carlos Leal.
And just because I know there's going to be somebody out there somewhere in the timeline that tries to get on Thinker for saying fluke-ish knockout for Muslim, I know what he meant, and you guys know what he meant as well. He didn't mean it was fluky, but it was. Some people get caught. It happens. You can get caught with a shot.
I think you actually just thank you for that, and I also think why I would qualify that is you actually said it. The shot itself, it didn't look like a crazy power shot. I remember because when we were all watching it, it was like, oh, he's knocked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of those kinds of things. That's all that I mean. It's Muslim Salikov. Like you said, I've been high on Muslim Salikov forever.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I was surprised when he lost to Uros Medic. Like, I was like, man, that was kind of crazy to me, because Muslim Salikov is a dude who at an advanced age will still spinning wheel kick your goddamn head off. He will still be able to put out power in his hands beyond what it looks like. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that like Muslim Salikov, is a fluke merchant or anything like that. It was just a shot that did not, from the eye test, look like it was a devastating shot. So either way, it does not matter. I am the first person to tell you that, you catch somebody in the right spot. It doesn't matter what it looks like. As Derek Lewis about that,
Yeah, absolutely.
But so yeah, anyway, I appreciate that clarification there. Yes, I'm not saying that it was a fluke. I'm saying that it basically how you described it. People get caught.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and also pick Carlos Leao here. I think this will be a very fun fight, guaranteed finish. If it goes to decision, guys, throw him out.
You're getting a lot more strict lately, but you're right in line with the organization. It's like, you guys better be out here. We put $25,000 on every fight for knockouts. You can get $25,000 instantly. If you don't, on the other hand, you also can pack your bags.
Yeah, we got $7 billion invested in this shit right now to be on fucking Paramount. So we're gonna put the good fights on it, thankfully. So
It's Glengarry Glen Ross, Chase. You know, it's a great classic film. Top prize is a Cadillac. Second prize is a steak knife set. Third prize, pack your bags and get the fuck out.
nice.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that that necessarily is going to be across the board, but we're seeing fight. Like, really, I mean, like, I don't mean to keep harping on it, but the fact that we did have this huge purge recently does signal to me that there is a fundamental shift in how they are looking at some of these fighters and how they're looking at some of these performances. So, I think the fans win in the end with that, regardless of the fact that, you know, these are these fighters' lives, and I do feel bad for that part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Either way,
But
all right.
Carlos Liao, everybody across
Yeah,
the board.
across the board, I think we are in lockstep on that one. See if we differ on this one. I'm interested to hear your thoughts about this. This is Zachary Reese versus Michelle Pajeda. Uh, Zachary Reese is 10-2. He is 3-1-1 in his last five, 4-1 without the no contest. It was a no contest. That's that extra one there. His wins are over Jackson McVeigh by submission, Dushko Todorovic and Jose Daniel Medina by unanimous decision, and Julian Marquez by knockout. His loss is to Azamat Bekoev by knockout, and the no contest was with Cedricus Dumas. Pereira is 31-14. This guy, 31-14, 2-3 in his last five. His wins are over Ihor Potieria and Mikhailo Lashechek, both by submission. His losses are to Kyle Dawkins and Anthony Hernandez by knockout, Abus Magomedov by unanimous decision. He is on a 3-fight losing streak.
I and I'm serious about this, and maybe it's just because I'm so cynical tonight, but this is the fight where I mean, you can't even pick a winner. Like you're picking two losers here. Like none, I don't even know. I don't know who could win this fight. I I think what my heart would say, but obviously I would not advise anybody to take this to the betting house. But Michelle Pereira, first round finish against Zach Reese makes sense to me because I've seen Zach Reese get finished in the first round by people that just get smoked in their next fight. You know, it's whatever. Michelle Pereira is actually at one time very deadly in the first opening sequence kind of deal. You know, he can go out there and get a finish against the Joe Schmoes of the organization, you know. And Zachary Reese is still 10-2, surprisingly. Can I actually point that out? You went down his resume. And I'm like, I feel like I've seen this dude lose every single time he's been in this fucking, you know, Jose Medina. Okay, sure, we knew that one had to be a gifted win, but he got knocked out by Cody Brundage. Cedricus Dumas, they kicked him in the dick, and then you get knocked out by Bekoev in the first round. It it seems like Michelle might be on a path to get a first round finish here, and then people will be like, "He's back. He's fucking back. He did it." You know, like.
You keep taking my thought process here, Chase, because yes, I was like, this seems like a hand-picked fight for Pereira to have the exact type of performances that he was once having. He was Mr. First Round. This is the same dude who danced his way to the octagon, then got the first round finish. Think about that in comparison to what you saw in the Fluffy fight. I mean, all of the fucking pageantry goes out the window when he is gassing out. That's what I said. I posted a clip of from the show. We were talking about Vinicius Oliveira gassing out in the first round, and somebody had said, "I've never seen someone gas out like that." And I said, the only person that comes to mind is Michelle Pajeda, who gassing out that quickly, and it's that fight that I was thinking of with Fluffy. So it's like, this could be handpicked for him to be like, we have seen Zachary Reese get knocked out in the first round. You are Mr. First Round. Either do that again or 4 fights, you're fucking out of here.
Do it again or head on out, brother. I mean, there's no other way around it. You're 32. It's actually pretty crazy with 31-14 being on your resume right now. Like that's pretty solid. But I mean, genuinely, what have you offered the sport in the last 3 fights that you've had? Like, let's be real. You had one good round against Fluffy. You hurt him. You gave us hope that, you know, there's a way to beat this guy, and then you had 4 rounds of nothing after that kind of deal, or 3 rounds of nothing after that, I should say. And yeah, I'm just not sold that Michelle is gonna. I mean, listen, the only win that I would say Pereira has that is aging well is the Olajésha kind of. You know, he finished him in the first round, body kick and then submission win. So I can see that something similar happening to Zach Reese, but god damn, I don't want to buy into either of these guys. Go
Well,
ahead.
see, I'm going to throw the monkey wrench into all of this real quick, though. All of what we just said has to be caveated by the last performance for Pereira. Because if you recall, that was Kyle Dawkins coming back into the organization, and he got knocked out in the first round himself. Kyle Dawkins, not a guy that everybody was saying, man, this is, back better than ever. And, he was a killer before. He's going to be a killer again. Michelle Pajeda just might be on the other side at this point. You know what I mean? Like the guy, the person that we were just talking about might be gone, and
Yeah.
Kyle Dawkins might have put the nail in that. So, I mean, really, to me, that does kind of it is the trump card of all of what we just described, because that was a quick finish. He also looked very slow in that fight going into the knockout phase. If you recall, it was a quick fight, but even leading up to it, he did not look good, and that was something I remember talking about on the show. So, I mean, this is a lot of factors here.
Yeah, no, this one is definitely good. I did glaze over that one. Yeah, gloss over that one, excuse me. I kind of forgot that. Yeah, he definitely got chinned by a dude on his re-debut kind of
Right.
deal. Um, gosh, I just still can't see myself. I mean, again, Zachary Reese 10-2, but the problem is I feel like I've watched you lose so many times and you really haven't. So that's got to say something. That's got to say something to me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's like if that's the impression that's in your mind, then it's coming from somewhere. It's not. I mean, look, if Zachary Reese was out here annihilating his opponents in a way where you were like, where it was undeniable that you could not deny it, then your thought process would be different. But like, if this is what is in your head, it's in your head for a reason. So, I mean, how do you reconcile that with all the other factors? You know?
Yeah, I just, I bought into him at first. He's 6'4", middleweight. He's tall, long, good striker. He was 9-1 or whatever at the time, 9-0 or something at the time. The savage. I was buying into it. And then when I see him fight, I don't see somebody that's not that good, I guess, and doesn't really utilize himself the correct way. So
I mean, these are all fair points. So at the end of the day, what's the call, man?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Michelle. I'm gonna bite the bullet here.
All right. I again, I'm in the same boat as you are. I I'll go with Zachary Reese. I'm gonna go with Zachary Reese, and I think I'm going off of the Kyle Dawkins information
Yeah,
there. I think I'm going off of that because, again, another thing about Pereira that we kind of mentioned in a roundabout way, but I'll say directly is that he has weight problems. He's a dude who he had to move up because he couldn't make the lower weight. He's at middleweight now. I think that he's just a sluggish guy, or he has become a sluggish guy. That I think is what I'm trying to get at here. Like that was how he looked in the fight with Dawkins. Could it have just been an off night? Then you could say that if he was not having off nights in his other fights. But
mhm.
I think that the pattern between the Hernandez fight, the loss to Abus, and then the Kyle Dawkins, that being the last three in the streak, I think that maybe he's just not that guy anymore. And I will tell you this also: if he dances even a single little kick step out to the side on the way to the octagon, abandon all hope.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I like this one though. I think it should be a finish as well, just along with the other fight that we talked about. But this one should be, at the least, a very fun first round, I would say.
I hope so. But yeah, and I mean, I'm look, Michelle Pajeda, make me eat the words. This is another one where because I was a fan of Michelle Pajeda. I was, I like he does all the
How
flippy
could you
shit.
not
And
be?
yeah, I mean, it's exciting when he was in his zone, but it's like, I just feel like that guy is gone. Show me that he's not gone, because if he is gone, then you are going to be gone from this promotion, most definitely.
And I hate to burst everybody's bubble out there because this is the originator of the winged C persona. I mean, this is actually what winged C wanted to be inside of the cage, and this is the highest level of the sport. And Michelle Pereira at one time made it work. Can he tap back in? Who knows?
That is a good observation. You are right. Yeah, I mean, Wing C, if he was actually like a fighter, would be a lot like Michelle Pajeda. You're not wrong.
Mhm. Yeah, I love
But
it.
yeah, we'll we'll see if Michelle Pereira can be a lot like Michelle Pereira.
True, he does have to get back in the time machine, you know?
All right, so another one where we differ. Let us know what you think in the chat. All right, moving on. This is a very interesting one to me. This I'm excited to talk about this one. This is Jacoby Smith versus Josiah Harrell. Smith is 11-0. He has 2 wins in the UFC after a win on the Contender Series. Those wins are over Nico Price by sub and Preston Parsons by knockout. Prior to the sub win, he was on a 4-fight knockout streak. So 4 knockouts, then a submission. All finishes in the last 5. Harrell is 7-0. This is his UFC debut. He is on a 3-fight knockout streak himself. I'm quoting Nolan King here from his tweet that he made about this fight. Harrell was diagnosed with a rare brain disease detected before a scheduled UFC fight versus Jack Della Maddalena in 2023. He underwent surgery and is 4-0 since then. So these are interesting dynamics here. I mean, this Harrell guy, obviously, shout out to him for overcoming the medical condition. Glad that they caught it early. Glad that they were able to get him back into fighting shape. All praise be to him for that. Jacoby Smith on the other side of this thing is at this point a proven killer. I mean, these are interesting dynamics, but the only other little part of that sticks out is that they were obviously confident enough in Harrell to be bringing him in against Jack Della. I mean, this is 2023 Jack Della, but still, I mean, like, how do you jive all of that? I mean, I think that there are some interesting elements to this one. And obviously the $1 million question to me is, how is this Harrell guy when he steps into the actual octagon?
We are definitely going to have to find out. This one is interesting because we don't know anything about Josiah. The thing that I will say is interesting is I should know a little bit about Josiah because he's competed in the Ohio Combat League, everybody. If you did not
Hey,
know, I might have to catch up on some MMA in Ohio because our boy Josiah here clearly got it to the big leagues and he came from right around the corner, you know? So it's going to be a fun fight, obviously, to see what Josiah is able to bring to the UFC because we don't really know, we don't know anything about him, but we know Jacoby Smith, very solid wrestler. He had that one move in the Contender Series where he tried to break Bro's leg by landing on him sideways kind of deal. Jacoby Smith will go out here and get a dub. It'll be gritty, but I think there's not really much to say other than Jacoby Smith should get a W here. I mean, he's had a full camp. He's been, locked in. You can't really, especially when, because he's not somebody that's like, I'm trying to think of the way to say it. His game plan doesn't really need to rely on a lot of different things. Like he's going to go in there and do it, whether it's somebody who's got this skill set or that skill set, it's somebody on short notice. He's going to go in here and just do what the fuck he wants, So
is it on short notice?
yeah, this is a short notice replacement. Pretty
Oh,
sure.
okay. Gotcha. I didn't realize that. Then yeah, I mean that's also that plays in for sure. I mean, Jacoby Smith, as I had said, I put the note in there for a reason. Gets a sub win with 4 knockouts before that. The guy is a finisher. He's got a dude that we just, I mean, he is on a 3 knockout streak himself, Harold, coming into the organization, but that's all Ohio Valley, whatever. I mean, I can't put as much stock into that, not knowing. And even with, even if I was sitting there watching the tape, it's different when you're actually in the bright lights of the organization, with which Jacoby Smith has already done. Nico Price, for as much of what he is, becoming the pretty well-rounded punching bag that he has now made himself out to be, a lot of fights under the belt for Nico Price. You beat someone like that, you absorb at least a little of the experience from that. Preston Parsons not too far off from that. I mean, like, maybe a little bit newer, but still, he's a guy that's been around for a little minute. So my point is that Jacoby Smith, he's been hanging. He's been in here doing the damn thing. The guys that they've been setting him up against are the guys that he is supposed to beat, and he has done that. Harrell, short of Harrell coming in and having an Ethan Ewing type of situation where it's like, wow, this guy really is something that we were not expecting, I'll allow for that to possibly be the case. That withstanding, based on paper, not knowing the full detail until we see it, I also have to go with Jacoby Smith. I think it's the right choice.
If I'm not mistaken, Jacoby Smith clocked in at one of the highest favorites in UFC history earlier last year or whatever it was when he fought Nico Price probably or whoever the hell it was.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Yeah.
So what I would say is a guy on short notice, he's probably going to be a Jacoby Smith favorite, by a million on this one as well. And to shout out to my boy Sylvia Hernandez, I would say do not put the check on Jacoby. You ain't going to make shit back on him. You got to pick a different one. Is all I would say.
I mean, either that or if you're, if we're all that confident that he's actually going to win, as the odds would say, then you make pennies.
No, I don't know if I'm too confident to put the entire check on Jacoby Smith
Nah.
after finding out Josiah Harrell's nickname. I feel like it is written in the stars for Jacoby Smith to be upset by the muscle hamster.
Yes, I did see that. Muscle Hamster is a goated nickname. That is definitely something that's going to get you to stand out. So, um, muscle your way in there, hamster man. I mean, do the hamster dance after this. That would be, maybe, bro. If he comes out to the hamster dance, says his walkout music, he's already made a fan out of me. That would be legitimate, like aura farming in a big way.
Nice. Well, who you got? Let's go ahead and make it
Yeah,
official here.
I gotta go with Jacoby Smith, man. Yeah, I mean, again, barring an Ethan Ewing situation, which if that happens, great. I would love, Harrell. He's got a great story. So I mean, like, there's really, I want nothing more for him than to succeed after overcoming the adversity. Similar to what we were talking about with Ramiz. I mean, anytime the guys are going through those kinds of health issues, I definitely feel for them. Go out there and prove it, and that'd be great. But we've seen Jacoby Smith be a killer. I think you got to go with what you know.
100%. Yeah, I'm definitely taking Jacoby Smith as well.
Right on. And to Sylvia, if you want to roll the dice, throw some money on Zachary Reese. See how that goes for you. Because I'm looking at that fight in my notes. I just keep going back to it like, oh, God, I really did lock in on Zachary Reese, didn't I?
Yeah, true.
Anyway.
Yes,
All
you
right.
did.
Well, maybe this one will whet your appetite for a little bit of check spending here. This is Sergey Spivak versus Ante Dalia. Spivak is 17-6. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Marcin Tybura and Derek Lewis, both by submission. His losses are to Waldo Cortez Acosta by unanimous decision, Cyril Gahn and Jailton Almeida, both by knockout. And I had to go back and I said, bro really got TKO'd by Jailton Almeida. I went and I watched the clip, and he definitely did. There's no lie about that. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind. Dalia, on the other side, is 26-7. He is 1-1 in the UFC. His win is over Marcin Tybura by knockout. His losses to Waldo Cortez Acosta, also by knockout. Last 4 fights all ended in knockout, 2 for him and 2 against him.
This one is tough because I really do like Sergey Spivak. At heavyweight, I really think he has a skill set that is unmatched, but he unfortunately is very chinny. I mean, he gets punched and he has the mentality that he doesn't like to get punched, so when he gets punched, it's just backing up and putting your hands between your fists, and you just get punched a lot more, and then the fights get ended. Uh, I think Sergey, I would love to believe that he could win this fight had Ante Dalia been submitted before, but he's coming in here with 7 submissions of his own with never been submitted. I don't believe Sergey Spivak is going to be the guy to be able to get that on him. Maybe he is. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's not going to be what I see happening. Ante Dalia has been finished on the feet 6 times though, which is pretty crazy. Sad part is Sergey Spivak has not enough power and or confidence on the feet to make that happen. I I hate to go against Sergey Spivak. I'm not gonna lie because truly one of the people that you always have that guy that you root for that you have no reason to be rooting for. Like they don't have any reason to have fans, to be fair. But like I'm his fan. So it's just how it goes. But Ante Dalia, I'm gonna say he gets this one done.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat with Sergey Spivak. Like I've always liked the guy, but like he doesn't really give you enough to like lock in on. I also think he is I mean, like I don't care what the stats say. He is an undersized heavyweight, in my opinion, because you'll see the stats will say 6'3", the 250, 6'3". He doesn't present that way, and I don't know how else to say that. Like, it's like the numbers on the page can be all of what they are, and they may be true, but it just always feels like he is like the smaller guy when he's up against some of these bigger guys. And what we have seen out of him has been spotty. What we have seen out of Ante Dalia is one win where he went in and just blitzed the fuck, and a second fight that was a loss where he would have won that fight.
I
I
mean,
mean,
the ref stopped it. I mean, he did finish. The ref walked in up until the moment that they started to fight back up, which was scandalous as hell. He had won that fight by TKO, so it's kind of hard to argue there. I mean, imagine if that fight had been stopped right there, and they would have been like, okay, you got poked in the fucking eye, big whoop, you still got TKO, just like anybody else on the fucking planet that would have happened to, kind of deal. This fight wouldn't even be happening, and we all would know that, yo, yeah, he smoked Sergey on the feet, kind of deal. So
Well, and that's
just have that.
also yeah, no, absolutely. And that's also why I think that this is a really nice tee up for D'Elia because D'Elia, the way that I've seen, I mean, I'm not as familiar with his work in the PFL and all of that, but he did win the tournament over there. He is, credentialed in PFL, whatever.
$1 million richer.
There you go. The way that he has been fighting in the UFC to me represents like almost a bygone era of the style. He's a classic heavyweight again, just strictly going off of what we've seen in the UFC. He's a classic heavyweight in the sense he goes in there, run and gun, throw his hands, try to knock you out in the first round. If it gets to later rounds, we'll find out what happens then because we have not seen it in the UFC yet. All of the two fights that he's had have both ended very early, or earlier anyway. I mean, within was the second fight second round or that was first round too, right?
Waldo,
Yeah, was that second round?
maybe, possibly.
Either way, the point is that like he's a dude who will take the fight to you. If he does end up gassing out, remains to be seen. But I think that Spivak is the exact right opponent for him to do what he does best: walk up, bomb you with shots. Spivak kind of starts to get a little bit, off of his game because he doesn't want to get hit by these shots. The shots don't stop coming. He gets overwhelmed and Ante D'Elia takes the fight. I mean, like, I think that that's pretty as it seems to me to be pretty like like that's a definitive way that my mind is looking at it. Like I don't think that there is any stretch to what I just laid out.
But what I will say, and actually, I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and place money on my heart here, because I remember back, and this was during my birthday week, Sergey Spivak had a matchup against Tybura, and this was a rematch. This was the second time they had fought each other. Spivak had already lost to Tybura. I'm pretty sure that's how that went. And in the rematch, Sergey Spivak pulled an armbar from the bottom position that actually won the fight against Tybura. It was the moment right there that I realized he's not just in there signing up to fight. Tybura signs up to fight, he goes in there and he just does whatever. Sergey Spivak in that moment, I realized, had either a really good coach or a really good camp that they knew exactly how they were going to beat this dude the second time, because that wasn't just, you don't just pull that out your fucking ass. I mean, he did, but like, and in the same way, like, they wanted that fight to go to that position, and it worked to a T. He got it, set it up, got the submission, boom. If Sergey Spivak is able to pull a sliver of that into this fight, and they have some sort of game plan that they're ready to grapple and get a unanimous decision or ground and pound kind of TKO type of deal, I could see it, man. He's 31 years old. There's still you're in a division that's very shallow. I mean, you don't have to feel like your life's over if you lose to Ciryl Gane or if you lose to Jailton Almeida. That dude's gone now. You still have opportunities to be effective at heavyweight. I'm going to take Sergey Spivak to actually get some grapples off on
All
Ante Delija.
right.
He's not going to finish him with a sub probably, but we may see ground and pound and or unanimous decision for Sergey Spivak.
So you think that he's going to be able to negate the early onslaught with some kind of level change and get him down,
Yeah.
hire him? Okay, I mean, look, we have not seen that yet, so that would be very telling. That would definitely be like, again, talk about the data that you collect over the course of these fights. That would be a definitive data point for Ante D'Elia. I'm going to go with what we have seen, which I do think is going to track here. I knew you were going to bring up the Tybura win, the armbar that you talked about. I mean, a little MMA math. They both have beaten Tybura, but of course, D'Elia by knockout. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the old school brawler style. Like, I'm not saying it's going to work with every heavyweight, and I mean, like it might have worked with Waldo. I think that there are certain ones that maybe are going to be able to outlast that. Somebody even like a Josh Hokett might be able to give him problems with with the level changing, the agile nature of moving around a lot. There's other heavyweights that bring different things to the equation. I'm thinking that this style that D'Elia has shown us so far is going to pair nicely with what Sergey brings to the equation. So for those reasons, I'm going with Ante D'Elia.
Speaking of pairing nicely, I know you guys know that normal human beings, they have what they call a pair of nipples. Ante Dalia does not have a pair of them. He has a triple nipple. I don't know if you guys noticed.
This man derives extra power from his witch's teat. I don't know how else to say it, people. He channels this energy from the third nipple. It radiates through his body, and people go to sleep.
That's
Is
how
what
it
it is.
goes.
That's how it
Oh, yeah.
goes. So we'll see if that ends up being true in this one. But next on the docket here is one that I know that you're very excited about, as am I. This is Dan Ige versus Melchizael Costa. Dan Ige is 19-10. Boy, are those losses creeping up. 19-10 for Dan Ige. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Sean Woodson and Andre Feely, both by knockout. His losses are to Patricio Pitbull, Lerone Murphy, and Diego Lopez, all by unanimous decision. Melchizael Costa is 25-7. He is 5-0 in his last 5. Perfect in his last 5. His wins are over Morgan Charrier by knockout, Julian Rosa and Christian Rodriguez by unanimous decision, and Andre Feely and Shailan Nordenbeke both by submission. So this guy's got a little bit of everything on the record here.
And this one is, you're right. I am very excited for this because obviously Melky is somebody that I've been telling you guys to keep an eye out for. He's somebody that's very, very talented. He's got all the tools to be great. Vitiligo King, I mean, he's got the story. It's destiny, guys. It's what they want to happen. Listen, Dan Ige is somebody that is never going to get finished while I watch the sport. That is just not what's going to happen. Dan Ige is very good at being defensively sound. He's good at taking shots on the chin, and he's got great jujitsu and wrestling that, pairs up. It's a very well rounded skill set. I've always said he's as good as you get right before you hit great. And Melky, I think with the experience that he's had, of course, he got finished before by Steve Garcia, somebody who is packing power at this weight class that is unheard of. Dan Ige, though, he has this ability to crack, though. I will tell you that. He finished Sean Woodson, turned him into a wrestler, and then there was some other people. He caught Lerone Murphy and dropped him as well. There have been times where Dan Ige is just able to showcase that he has really good power in his striking. The problem is Melky is probably smart enough to not just stand with him and give him the opportunity to strike. And because Melky has been put out by people with the power like that before. So Dan Ige, I don't think he's going to want to risk that. I think we're going to get Melky to go ahead and grapple with him. But knowing that Dan Ige doesn't get subbed, I think Melky is going to go ahead for a more ground and pound heavy style here. I mean, he's gone for a lot of submissions and he's gotten them. He knows he can get them on a lot of people, but Dan Ige might be just the dude that it's not worth the time to try to just finesse it. Just go ahead, get the full mount, and just ground and pound.
I like the thoughts. I mean, look, I think you said it without saying it. Danny Ige, he's a gatekeeper. I think that
Mm.
really, like, and I'm a huge fan. I really like Danny Ige. I think he's a great guy. I think that he is, one of those dudes. He's a Mr. Show Up kind of guy. Like, you can count on Danny Ige to bring a fight when you need him the most. And I really appreciate that out of him. He's not a huge talker. He fits the bill of the type of fighter that I gravitate towards, as who I am a fan of. So I am a big fan of Dan Ige, but I think you got to acknowledge that it's like you said, he's the last step before you hit the next echelon of the sport as far as the elites go. And that's just kind of where he's going to end up staying, is what it seems like. Again, 19-10. I kind of, lingered on that a little bit, but it speaks to exactly that. He's a goer. He's a tough fighter. But at the end of the day, you got to recognize where the ceiling is. And I think that Dan Ige has kind of found himself at that point. So Melchizael Costa is a guy who I was not necessarily coming around to readily. I sort of thought that there were a couple of things that didn't all align to me. I was like, okay, yeah, he's got a couple of things here and there that look good, but like, can he consistently do that? He has been consistently doing that, and in a myriad of different ways now. I mean, that the last knockout of Morgan Charrier, I mean, that kick that he placed, like, I'm just like, okay, well, if he can do that, and he's done everything else that I just outlined to you when I was reading all of his stats off, I got to be a believer. Again, this is when you prove to me, when you make me believe. Like, I don't have any other choice but to believe right now when it comes to Melchizael Costa. You have done that. You've made it so that is the case. I got to go with that. I can't, I mean, like, especially against Dan Ige, who I'm saying is like, if it's one of those things where, like, are you going to open the gate or not? I think that Melchizedek Costa is about to kick the gate open, whether you like it or not. You know.
Yeah, Red Rover's gonna let Costa right in, I tell you that.
Think it has to be. So, I mean, you know, I had been skeptical for long enough. He's made a believer out of me. I'm also going with the Dalmatian on this one.
Nice, I love it.
All right. I mean, pretty open and shut there. Dan, you do have a chance to prove it wrong, though. I mean, that, you know, that is where the gatekeeping does come in. I will say that is that it's like you if you do close the gate, then I mean, there now you've proven yourself to be that guy again. And
I
in that
I don't think it's that time because he got his moment last fight with Sean Woodson where that
true.
fight was fucking stopped and Sean Woodson's on his fucking feet standing there asking like, "What are you fucking doing? Like, why would you even do that?" You know. So I think that was the one time that Dan Ige is gonna get that. He's gonna get the nod. You know, there's the 9 times out of 10, and on that 10th time, the referee fucks up. You know, like that's you just gotta throw your hat in the mix.
It's true, and I mean, and that does kind of speak to the same thought process too. The same point is that, you know, Sean Woodson, I mean, maybe a guy who probably, you know, that one was not the greatest representation of it. But if I was going to pick a fighter that I'm like, the gate probably, you know, it's about a 50-50 on whether it's going to open or close for Sean Woodson. There you go. You saw the 50% go in the direction that it went for that. Costa, I don't think so.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, moving on to the co-main event of this thing. This is Jeff Neal versus Uros Medic. Neal is 16-7. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Rafael dos Anjos and Vicente Luque, both by knockout. His losses are to Carlos Prates by knockout, Ian Machado Gary by split decision, and Shavkat Rakhmonov by submission. Neal revealed recently that he had been struggling with addiction problems prior to his last fights. He said that he had not been sober up until the week of the fight for a lot of the times that he was fighting before. He has claimed that these issues have been since resolved. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in relation to this fight. Uros Medic is 12-3. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Muslim Salikov, Gilbert Urbina, and Tim Means, all by knockout. His losses are to Punahele Soriano by knockout and Miktabek Orlabai by submission. Fun fact, Medic has never been to decision in his entire career.
We are well aware of him in the Hive. He is Serbian McKenny, if anybody did not know. He is a kill or be killed, 100% finish rate, whatever the case may be. Medic is that guy. And you gotta, listen, you gotta respect somebody who goes out there with the mentality that, bro, there ain't nothing after this shit. You know, we're going in here to the death. And to speak on with the Jeff Neal situation and the addiction, it is crazy to hear, unfortunate for sure, but I'm glad that he's past that. But what the case may be is, you know, if the timelines add up, after you got, you know, well and after sobriety, Carlos Prates gave you one of the worst knockouts that you've had in your career, unfortunately. The only other time that you've been TKO'd or KO'd was way before you were in the UFC against Kevin Holland. So it, and it probably didn't look like that is all I'm saying. But I would love to believe that if Shavkat Rakhmonov had Jeff Neal's face bloody to a pulp before he choked him out, of course, Uros Medic is going to have a fucking field day on the feet. That's just what I would say. But Jeff Neal is a very, very tough customer. He's the perfect type of dude to take Uros Medic into deep water to see if he can actually get him to decision. But this dude just got knocked out a couple months ago. So he's going against a dude who literally knocks people out. Like, what can you say?
The way that Uros Medic fights makes predicting his fights so difficult, and I love it. I mean, as a fan, I love it. I mean, like, you know, he is. You want to talk about kill or be killed? Like you said, he is Mr. Kill or be killed. I mean, there's no one more fitting of that description than Uros Medic. But because of that, he leaves himself open to be knocked out. He leaves himself, you know, there are plenty of opportunities for different things to happen and things that I don't want to say fluke because they're not flukes, but it's like just unexpected. The unexpected can always happen when you fight as intensely as he does. You know, they're like, you got to think about how quick the fights are in normal circumstances. Like, you know, your fighters, if they're not moving as dynamically or whatever, if they're more planted, but, you know, still moving effectively and they're picking shots. Think about how fast some of these guys throw strikes. Think about like a Kyoji Horiguchi and the way that he moves and strikes. You pair that with an intensity to run and gun your way to a finish. you're essentially taking a lot of the technicality out of an otherwise technical performance and just saying, I've got a definitive goal. I'm going to get there, or I'm going to go out trying, get rich or die trying kind of situation here.
Mhm.
That it makes it very difficult. And when Jeff Neal is on the other side, a guy who I think has had some pretty good successful fights in the past, but never speaks to the being like of that elite status. I mean, for a long time, he was kind of like in the upper part of welterweight. That whole division has been turned on its ear since, the times that he was in the top five or adjacent to the top five. His latest wins over RDA, who has been out for a while, and Vicente Luque, who, take or leave how you feel about Vicente Luque as a challenger in that way, like an opponent that's really somebody to be impressed by the win over, makes this fight very difficult to actually pick a winner on. I think. I think this is really hard for me to make a definitive call one way or another.
Well, Thinker, that is exactly what you're here to do. I have made my mind up. I think Uros Medic is one of the most impressive prospects that we have right now. 100% finish rate, like I said. And this is really just to feed the narrative that Miktabek is really fucking good. He submitted that guy. He submitted this dude in no fucking time. He almost ripped his damn head off. And now Uros Medic is one of the scariest dudes in the division. I mean, how good is Miktabek? I mean, it's actually even funnier because that fight, Miktabek probably showed up on short notice or something because welterweight, or did Medic cut down to lightweight? I don't know where this fucking went, but all I know is Miktabek is now back in the division of Medic, and we're gonna get our rematch at some point.
I like it. Well, I will do something similar that I did in the Pajeda fight here, and I'll throw a little monkey wrench into the equation based on what we, had talked about with some of these dynamics. Medic's last wins, Tim Means, easy win for him.
Yep.
Gilbert Urbina, why was he even back? Muslim Salikov, there's your monkey wrench right there. The fact that he was able to knock out Muslim Salikov, a guy who, another somewhat, I mean, not kill or be killed, but like a dude who is like underestimated a lot of the times, and someone that we know has knockout power and knockout ability. I think that maybe that's what's going to swing me over to Medic being able to take this. He's just been saying himself that, he's like, I need to be getting the shine that I deserve. I need to be the, like, I'm like, I've never, gone to decision. Like I come into every fight 100% in. He's able to finish a finisher in Muslim Salikov. I think that is going to be the thing that'll push me over. And also the other thing that pushes me over is something that I learned about on the Glory Kickboxing stream. I think I talked about it on this show too. It's the idea of inat. That is a Serbian phrase for grit, determination, and essentially never giving up on yourself. And if there is someone who has inat, it is certainly Uros Medic. So I will also go with Uros Medic on this one.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he takes the fight game pretty serious. So I'm excited to see what he's got. He better not lose me no money though. I'm not gonna put it on him, but we'll see if we're up.
Well, I mean, and if it happens, then, it'll be Jeff Neal actually getting a finish, which, it'd be nice to see. I mean, he finished both those last wins too, but I mean, it would be nice to see him over a finisher because, again, Rafael dos Anjos on the end of his career, if you remember that fight, RDA was not looking at himself in that fight. And Vicente Luque, there's so much stuff going on in that world with Vicente that it's kind of hard to be like, wow, definitive. That's what I was kind of saying. It's like to put that as like something that you like hang your hat on. Oh, a Vicente Luque knockout. It doesn't really track at this stage of the game. So this could actually be something that I'd be like, okay, hey, Jeff Neal actually got a legitimate knockout over the Serbian killer over here.
True. 35 though, it's always gray area once you get to that age.
Very true. Very true. Well, let's see if he still has it in the tank.
Hell yeah.
And rounding this thing out, the main event of the evening, a fight I have been looking forward to since they announced it. It is Sean Strickland versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Strickland is 29-7. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Paulo Costa by split decision, Israel Adesanya by unanimous decision, and Abus Magomedov by knockout. His losses are to Dricus du Plessis 2 times, once by split decision and once by unanimous decision. Hernandez is 15-2. He is 5-0 in his last 5. Perfect in his last 5. His wins are over Roman Dolidze by submission, Brandon Allen by unanimous decision, Michel Pereira by knockout, Roman Kofilov by submission, and Edmund Shabazian by knockout. He is currently on an 8-fight win streak.
This is an interesting fight. I'm very excited to see what happens. Obviously, Sean Strickland, we know what type of fighter he is. You know what we know what it means when he says he's going to war. To be fair, he has not said he's going to war yet, so we cannot assume that it's going to be the same performance. But I'm gonna say what we're all thinking. I mean, Anthony Hernandez is somebody who was hurt in the first round by Michel Pereira, and other people have hurt him to the body early in fights before. Granted, he has been the type to fight through adversity, other than the Kevin Holland fight, but that was at a different weight, that was a different time. He's definitely grown past that. What I will note that I thought was interesting is the UFC posted it. They're like, eight fight win streak, 6 years of dominance, and I'm like, 8 fights in 6 years. Like well, this dude's
True.
like, is it like what's the inactivity level here? Is this dude always injured, or is he just hand picking opponents? And now somebody countered the rebuttal. I mean, even if he is hand picking opponents, the people that he's fighting are top people. Like these are top contenders. It doesn't matter if you hand pick the top seven. I mean, they're the top seven kind of deal. But the problem is that the lack of activity just doesn't sell me that there's something. When I thought back to Drakkar Close, something was up. Like I watched him and I was like, man, that guy's good. Like what is the deal? Why is he not getting the push? Why is he not as active? What are the deals? Things like that just stick out to me when I think of 8 fights in 6 years. You're on an 8 fight win streak, but you got knocked out in the UFC 6 years before. You've had 8 fights since then. I I don't know. It's it's just not the level of activity that makes me want to believe that you're in it to win it right now. But again, you are beating the top people as of right now.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it might be as simple as the guy likes to smoke a lot of weed. I mean, that's
True.
I mean, our edibles, I think, are his thing. But either way, I think that that's a little bit of like if that's the thing that you're like hung up on. To me, it's a kind of a stretch to think that that is what would be the deciding factor in a fight like this. But I mean, hey, you're entitled to view it how you view it. What I've been seeing out of Fluffy Hernandez in the fights that we have seen, and he has been a little bit more active recently. I mean, for whatever his reasons were a little bit early on, you're right. I mean, yes, 8 fights in 6 years, that's not great. But like what we've seen in the spat that he has been on more recently is nothing short of amazing. There's a reason, some of these times where I'm grouping these the records together, like I'll kind of group them by the type of the method of finish. I kind of spelled it out for each of them because it's like he does have like a variety of different ways that he has been finishing these fights, and they're all impressive to me. I mean, like he has been really a guy that like even when he's not looking great in the fight finds the win at the end of the day, and then when he is looking great in the fight, he's looking amazing in the fight. And I guess Roman Dolidze is not the guy that you want to base all of your opinions on. I get that. But what he did to Roman Dolidze, I think is really more of why it's like, yeah, could it like have been different with a different person? Obviously it would be. But the fact that like the it's not it's all of the things in the fight. It's not necessarily that it was that level of competition. I think he can replicate at least parts of that with almost anybody. And I've been very high on him for a while. I know that maybe is clouding a little bit of the judgment. I'm not the hugest fan of Sean Strickland. I think that there are noticeable holes in his game that can be exploited by Hernandez if he gets his hands on him. Granted, his takedown defense is really good, and that might negate it for a little while. This is a 5 round fight. He's going to have to be negating that for a whole long time. I think that Fluffy has the skills here. I think he's got what it takes.
I do like Fluffy, and I would like to see him win. I know a lot of people don't like Roman Dolidze, but I actually think that is a very quality win. I mean, the way that he did it, yeah, is impressive, but doing it against Roman Dolidze, come on. I mean, he's never made it look like that. But Sean Strickland, I will be the opposite side of the coin here, and I will believe that in some fashion that Sean Strickland can pepper shots for 5 rounds. Anthony Hernandez is quite literally fluff up top, you know? I mean, his name is Fluffy. If Sean Strickland can kick him in the stomach a handful of times, I mean, Paulo Costa's he's a very stern, thick body, and he took a bunch of kicks to the stomach for 5 rounds, and all he was doing was running around, and he looked very tired. So if Fluffy he's going to have to take away the ranged kicking ability from Sean. And obviously, it's in your mind. It's like, oh, you just catch a kick, catch a kick, trip him, whatever you want to say. But when we get down to it, if Sean Strickland is pressing forward and he's able to just do his little walk forward where he stabs his teeps, does his little, if he can just do his little thing, it might get interesting. But and like you said, it's 5 rounds. I would like to be the opposite side here and go Sean Strickland because I think the value is definitely there for somebody who beat Israel Adesanya. Again, it's a different fight. He went up 2 different times against Dricus du Plessis. He fought Israel Adesanya and he beat him. He has experience against Kamaru Usman when it comes to the wrestling. He has experience against yada yada yada. I don't care what you have to say. I think Sean Strickland has the experience that should be able to make picking him as an underdog worth something. And I don't think when it comes to the main event, again, all fights, all mixed martial arts competitions, any competition really. I mean, they're matched up for a reason. Anybody can win. It's possible. Like no dog is truly bad unless it's Ateba Gautier's opponent, kind of deal. But even that's questionable at this point. So right now, I would like to believe dog money on Strickland. It has value because he's a former champ. He knows how to. He's done 5 rounds plenty of times. That's all I'm saying.
I hear it. I mean, again, I'm really never questioning like where your logic comes from on these picks. I think that you always make pretty sound like arguments in favor. I think what trips it up when it comes to Strickland specifically, we're talking about this on stream recently. Sean Strickland is not a person who adjusts
Yeah,
mid-fight. And I think that that's going to be very problematic for him against Hernandez because Hernandez has such a well-rounded skill set and a game that he can adjust on the fly that it's like if Sean does, like if Sean brings one thing to the table and Fluffy says, I don't like that, he goes to plan B. If Sean doesn't like what Fluffy's doing, there is no plan B. And
true.
you know what I'm saying? That I think becomes part of the issue here. And also what we saw, like, and what signals that what we saw in the fight with Paulo Costa is a prime example of this. I have said, it is not Paulo Costa nor any fighter's job to stand in front of you and give you the fight that you want. You go and get the fight. We've had this discussion many times on the show. Strickland does not do that. Hernandez has the ability to both be evasive if he wants to be, get past the kick if he wants to. I think that that's going to be really the key for him. I don't even think he needs to catch the kick. I think he just gets past the kicking range, gets his hands on him, and then either gets the takedown or wrestles him a whole bunch or whatever happens thereafter. I don't think that Sean gets the ability to get the stabbing teeps off the way that he has with other fighters. This all signals to me that when Sean is not going to get his way, there is no second attack plan, and that becomes a big problem for him. Fluffy's got a bag of tricks. Sean is slightly one-trick pony, I would say.
But as of it stands, one of the best ponies in the top of this division. Middleweight has never seen a better contender. I can just tell you right now, Sean Strickland is cooking right now, guys. I might have lied. There have been definitely better contenders at middleweight, but either way, Sean Strickland's up there.
Well, I mean, so how much stock do you place in the last Dricus fight with Sean and him saying that he came into that compromised, etc.? Because I mean, if I am not judging Sean off of that last fight specifically, but that last fight was not great for him.
I think with the last fight specifically, I don't want to take too much into consideration about, maybe he was compromised. Everybody talks about the motorcycle hip or whatever the fuck he's got going on now after a crash or something. But Sean Strickland in the second fight, he got his nose broken like the second round or whatever. And that shit swelled up and looked really bad. He finished the fight and he didn't stop taking the same risks that he had, so it's hard to fight through a fight with a broken nose. Shit happens. If that is something that happens, I even said it with Nicholas Dalby. I mean, at a certain point, the fight's not going to go on that much longer, brother. You just got to just go for it. Sean Strickland was able to finish a fight. Hell, Dricus, it wasn't a nose break, but even up until a couple fights ago, he didn't have full fucking oxygen coming through his nose. It's a very important thing. And yeah, I think Strickland was compromised after the nose break, and I think that was the leading contribution to him losing that fight is just when that happens, I mean, game plan has to change a little bit because your face fucking hurts. You got
Sure.
to get punched a little less, but also still keep yourself in the mix.
Yeah. No. Okay. Fair enough then. Well, all of that being said, as the factors are where they are currently with all of what we have just gone through, you're locking in on Sean Strickland then?
I'm gonna go ahead and lock in on Sean Strickland.
All right. Well, I am locking in on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And I will say, a lot of these fights, I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. A lot of the times when we predict these fights, I'm okay with being wrong most of the time. Like, I know that I'm not the best predictor of these fights. I never claim to be. So it's like sometimes, it's like, you get it wrong, you get it wrong. This is a fight that if I get this one wrong, I will actually be legitimately sad because Anthony Hernandez has become one of my favorite fighters. I had to make a special mention of him in our year-end wrap-up because he has become one of my favorite fighters so much in a division that I think aside from select fighters can be a little bit weak at times. I mean, middleweight not always the, where you think about like the elite of the sport, at all times of the history of the sport. So like I really would like to see Hernandez get this win, be next in line, if not Nasruddin Imavov, but like, solidify his position here, because if it does not happen, it's going to be something that I will legitimately feel it. I'll be like, man, I was really believing in Hernandez, and you let me down on that one.
Yeah, Sean Strickland might ruin your weekend if this happens, but
It,
it happens.
I'll just be chilling with a pint of ice cream and some blankets, huddled up watching romantic comedies thereafter.
You're just gonna become fluffy in honor of it.
Exactly. There you go. I'll take on the persona. I'll carry the torch in that regard.
Do like the end of dodgeball, where he's got the fucking chicken thing.
Well, if you ever see me bouncing my man titties around like concrete, then I've gone too far.
There you go.
All right. Well, all of that we will find out and then some. Of course, this weekend we will be watching these fights to find out who has been right and who has been wrong. We will come back next Monday to talk it all through. But if you want to hang out with your boys for the fights that we just predicted, you can do so on our individual watch alongs that we will be conducting myself at youtube.com/@Yama Show. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They can find me streaming the UFC watch alongs on Saturday when the UFC is on, of course, this Saturday. And then Friday mornings, if you guys didn't know, ONE FC has cards in the morning of Muay Thai, MMA, and kickboxing and grappling submission at times. I be watching those. Make sure to stop by at youtube.com/@CP Smalls.
There you go. And of course, we talked a whole lot about RWS. Keep an eye out for some of those streams coming up for me, other combat sports, other promotions. We're trying to hit all the promotions before Yama is over, dude. I'm trying to get as many in as possible. So keep an eye out. New content on the channel all the time. Just put a video out about Cain Velasquez's release. So check that out and give it a like if you enjoy it. New stuff coming out this week, depending on what the schedule looks like. Of course, follow me over at Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook at Yama Show for all of the updates on all of that stuff. Shout out to the chat one last time. Of course, Savage coming in at the end here. Saw you, North coming in. Jesse Dunaway, appreciate you, brother. Sylvia and John Diaz. You guys are all amazing. Thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us, making this the best podcast in all of MMA. We appreciate you, and we will see you in the next episode. So until then, have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.